Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the January 14th, 2025 meeting of the Fitchburg Zoning Board. I now call this meeting to order. Please be advised that FATV is conducting an audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast. I ask that anyone else in the audience who is recording this meeting to please identify themselves for the record now by standing and stating your name and city of residence. Is there anybody here recording? As usual, no, because the audio and video is always available from FATV. At this time, I'm going to ask that all electronic devices be placed in silent mode so that we can all enjoy each other's company without interruption. If you do need to take a call during the meeting, please step outside into the lobby so that the meeting can continue uninterrupted. And I ask that because at the last meeting, I think we had 3 separate interruptions by cell phones, so please double check. I would now like to begin the meeting by standing and reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. And Mr. Byrne, you don't want to do it today? Please lead us.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Byrne.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Much appreciated. All right. So we are opening our meeting today with reviews. I do want to note, as with prior meetings, that we had a written update from the special permit holder on 1341 Ringe Road. If anyone would like to have a copy of that written update, copies are available for the public at the table in front of us. A copy of that update has been circulated to all board members. We will now open with reviews. Reviews are taken between 6 and 7 p.m. We do reserve the discretion to take them out of order if needed. But we are at this time, I think we're going to proceed in the following order. 167 Canton, 8385 Marshall Street, 180 Main Street, and then 109 Oak Hill Road. So let's start with 167 Canton Street. This is ZBA 23-37 for oral carries. This is the review of a special permit under section 181.33 of the City of Fitchburg Code to build a 3-family townhouse style to replace a pre-existing non-conforming structure with the same use after a fire pursuant to section 181.94. Is the applicant present? And I should say permit holder. No. And I am just going to check and make sure whether we have anyone online who is attending. I don't believe so.
Please hold on, just text me.
Do you mind speaking into the microphone? I'll read it. Okay. So we had an indication from the permit holder prior to the hearing that they were likely going to require a continuance on their review. And the permit holder has asked for 3 months extension to an April review. Mercedes, what is the date for April 2025? Okay, April 8th, 2025. I'm going to check if there's any other person here who has a question or wants to speak on this review. Seeing none, if there is any person here virtually who would like to ask a question or speak on this review, please raise your hand. Seeing none, is there any board member comment before we go to, and I'm sorry, Mr. Commissioner, didn't mean to exclude you. Go ahead.
Just wanted to say he is progressing with construction. We just issued the permit for his sprinkler systems about a week ago.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Is there any other board member who wanted to make a comment on the review of the property? Mr. Gallagher?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I had the pleasure of going out there this afternoon, and I met with the applicant, and I just want to say that the site is very impressive. It's a nice improvement to the area. The building stands very proud on the lot, and I think he's doing a terrific job.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. Anyone else? For myself, I would like to echo Mr. Gallagher's comments. I went out to the property. It's a difficult property to build on because of the slope, but the arrangement of the 3 units as side by side, the off-street parking, and the construction that has taken place to date, excellent. Very pleased with the project, and I look forward to its completion. All right, if there is no other comment, then I'd be looking for a motion to continue the review until April 8th, 2025.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? That carries. The review is continued to April 8th, 2025. The next matter I'm going to call is ZBA 2022-05. This is 8385 Marshall Street, AG Dream Flip, although I think we have a new owner now of the project. This is the review of a special permit under Section 181.3366 of the City of Fitchburg Code to reinstate a vacant or abandoned building as a 3-family dwelling located in residential C. Sir, welcome to the meeting this evening.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good evening.
Can you please give us your name and city of residence? for
Yes.
minutes?
My name is Harold Mateo. Office is in Fitchburg, Mass. Residence is in Wakefield.
Okay, thank you.
And I wanted to come and give you an update rather than the email stuff. That way you guys can know what's happening over at the property.
Thank you.
This week, the contractor that's building the wall encountered ledge there. We had a little bit of setback with the person that was actually building the wall, but we're finally back on track with them. So they went out, they brought their machinery, they were digging to set the wall, but they hit ledge, so now they have to get a hammer and a different type of machine out to hammer out where the wall's going. So I just got off the phone with him. He expects to have at least half of the wall built by next week, weather pending, so, which is good. I'm hoping, because ledge tends to be really busy and keeps you going for hours on the machinery.
Are you talking about the wall that's up at the top of the property or the wall that's around the parking area?
The parking area up the stairs to the left.
Okay.
The one that's at the top of the property, there was also a lot of ledge there as well, but that's all set.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I was at the site this week, I saw that there were a large number of concrete construction material on the opposite parking lot.
Correct,
That's
yeah.
for
Yeah, those are the blocks for the wall. That same property owns that lot. That's the other 4 parking spaces that they will eventually have once those blocks move out of the way. The wall company is only delivering them in chunks, just because otherwise it'd be a little hard to move around there.
It's not a lot of room on the property to begin with.
Yeah, and the neighbors take up some of the parking, so it makes it hard.
Okay.
It's a real tough situation there.
Yeah. Will the safety fencing be back up?
Yes, she did order it. It's supposed to be coming back on Friday. The safety fence was completely backlogged. They sent an email, which I forwarded to the commissioner as well. And I understand that was one of the requests, and they were on top of it. It was out of their control.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Just, we don't want anybody, particularly children,
Yeah.
to be hurt by playing there. So,
Understood.
all right. Is there anything else to add?
No, nothing from our end. Looking forward to getting this one wrapped up. And it's going to take a little longer based on the ledge. So, yeah.
If we're looking to set a next review date, is that realistically going to be in 2 months?
Yes.
Because
I think that would be
Again,
fair.
I think I've said, we really don't want to keep you coming back unnecessarily.
Agree, because, I'm coming out here for this. I don't mind updating you so you know what's going on with the project. That's fine at all. I know that they are pressed to get occupancy certificates because right now, they're paying a mortgage and it's vacant it's been a long time. So I think we're really trying hard to be done in about 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to see if there's any other public comment. Is there any person present who wishes to make a comment or ask a question? Mr. Commissioner, is that a hand or?
So my one question is more a follow-up on that retaining wall in the back and where we stand with that.
What exactly is the question?
When's it going to be ripped out and replaced with a code-compliant retaining wall?
Well, I don't know if you saw the pictures of what was there before. But the person that built the wall tied the wall in with anchors to the granite and set a slab and then poured it to the best of the ability with what's there now. The wall does not look like it's falling over like the one that was there before. And I just want to finish really quick. This wall was not part of what I was supposed to be doing at this property. I did it at the request of the owner and this body here.
And my understanding for the board's clarification is, even though Mr. Mateo is saying he did it, he didn't actually do it. There was another contractor who the owners contracted with to do this wall. It's along the back. And I understand the old one was falling over and in bad shape.
Extremely falling over.
This new one was installed without any permits, without any design. And the photographs that have been uploaded to OpenGov don't show a keyway, don't show any connection between the footing and the actual wall. And the wall is pretty much right at the edge, so there's no real overturning. So it's not doing it at this point today. That doesn't mean it won't, with erosion, do it in 5 years, 10 years. So that's why we need that wall to be done in a code-compliant manner.
It looks great.
Well, I don't think it's going to get more code compliant than what it already is, Mr. Commissioner. I'm really sorry that you feel that way. It's better than the wall that was there. And quite frankly, I didn't even want to touch the wall. I didn't touch the wall, but we had somebody come and do it to the best of the ability for the conditions that exist on that property. So I don't know. You tell the homeowners to build a new wall. I'm not going to.
Yep, and I'm making it clear. It
I
was
think
Mr. Mateo who did this. I'm not saying it was him.
Yeah, I just think it would be.
But it's not code compliant, and since it was done, it doesn't matter what was there before, since it was done. And I did tell them when we did our site visit that it needs to be done correctly.
Look, I respect your opinion. I respect this body here. I understand. I've come in front of you guys so many times. I would not press that wall so much, honestly, because the conditions of the wall and the anchors that were set X number of feet into the existing granite that's there, the ledge, anchored with rebar across. I submitted the drawing that they sent me. It was done to the best of the ability for the conditions. Now, if you want to tell the homeowner that they need to knock down the wall and go get engineering and pay another 20 grand, then that's fine. I don't think the project will get done. And I don't think that's what the city needs. The city needs to move forward. And we can't have people coming from out of town never wanting to come back to invest in Fitchburg because we're making their life impossible. That's what I feel about that wall. The wall is perfectly fine how it is.
So I can say, first of all, I'm not advocating for the board to make any conditions on this. I am saying I will not issue a certificate of occupancy with the wall that way. The units, I did a walkthrough of the units. They're fine for occupancy. But that wall, the photos that were alluded to do not show those dowels. And the photos that were uploaded to the system do not match the plans that were uploaded that the contractor says he built to. So I'm not saying an engineer needs to do it. I'll say for the record, there is no engineer that's required to do it. It's a short wall, but it's a wall that required a building permit, and it was not built to code.
So you mentioned that I wrote, and it's documented, that I would have no problem pulling a permit for that wall that was built back there. I don't do any work without permits, first of all. And I just want to say, if what we need is a permit, I'm okay paying whatever fee needs to be paid, and so is the homeowner, so that the wall can be built. I think it would be insane to have them spend another $15,000 to do a wall that was not even required for them to do that we did. That's all.
So let me kind of stop this conversation right here. The wall in the rear of the property was not the wall that was the subject of the special permit. That is the subject of the special permit is the wall around the parking area.
Correct.
And then I think some improvements over on the other lot where parking is required. But that being said, the building commissioner issues the building permits and does the examination as to whether or not a piece of construction has been built to code. Things that are newly built and required to be subject to code need to be built to code. But that is, if there is an issue of whether or not the building commissioner is properly interpreting the code, the appeal on that goes to the BCBS, not to the zoning board, because it's not a zoning issue, it's a building code issue. So I certainly, while I am certainly in support of structures in the city being, when they are touched again, being built to code and being safe being the primary.
Absolutely, I agree. And this is a lot safer than what was there now.
Yeah.
I'll agree to that, but it's not code compliant.
But I'm sure there are options available that can be discussed, either looking at what is the deficiency and how is a remedy to be affected, doing an appeal to the BCBS, or I'm not sure that retaining wall is required. Maybe it is. I don't know.
If it's okay with you guys, I think as the ZBA, it's important that you see what we're discussing. I'd be happy to show it to you so you can understand what we're talking about. And the pictures that I have of before, in progress, and after, so that so we can talk about the real facts, if
Sure.
that's okay with you.
It's fine, but again, the ZBA is not going to be able to overrule the commissioner on a code question.
Okay, great.
Right.
We'll take that off
yeah.
the sidelines then.
So
I'm sure this would be resolved.
And it was not a condition of the special permit that wall in the back be rebuilt.
Okay.
I appreciate the building commissioner ensuring that the requirements of the code are met in the city and bringing it up here as a forum to make sure that the issue gets addressed. It's appropriate sometimes.
Understood.
But it's not a problem that's resolvable by the ZBA. I want to make sure whether we have any other public comment, and then, Mr. Commissioner, I'll go to you, Mr. McLaughlin. Is there any other person here who wants to make a comment or ask a question on this review? And is there any other person virtually who wants to make a comment or ask a question on the review? Okay. Mr. McLaughlin, go ahead.
Thank you. Just so I understand, because there's multiple walls in this project, this is a wall that's behind the house?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, it's right behind the house, and it's just like a fraction of an inch higher than the threshold that would require a permit. And Harold has requested to amend the permit. So he's trying to comply with it. He's trying to get me the documents to show that it was compliant. I'm just disagreeing with the fact that what was built was actually what they drew, and that it's compliant. But he is administratively doing everything he was supposed to do with this. So this is the one behind it, and it's literally fractions of an inch taller than what would have required a permit.
Okay.
All right. Is there any other board member with a question or a comment? Mr. Reynolds, Mr. Byrne?
Just a question here. So he is a less than an inch to be required to take a, to get a permit or to be into zoning, what, I don't
To
understand.
get a building permit. So for retaining walls, if the retaining wall from the bottom of the footing to the top of the retained area is 4 feet or higher, it needs a permit. If it's less, it still needs to be built correctly, but it doesn't need a permit. This is like 4 foot, 3/4 of an inch or something. Best guess we can get, because they built this whole entire thing without us inspecting any phase of it. Normally, we would inspect the excavation, we would inspect the footing, we would inspect the installation. It was all done without us. So we've been working with Mr. Mateo. He's been giving us progress photos, but those progress photos aren't actually helping because they're showing that it wasn't built correctly. So that's where the issue is, but we'll deal with it offline.
All right.
Any other question, Mr.
That's fine.
Quinn? All right. Mr. Talbot, any question? Mr. Gallagher?
Yes. I don't pretend to be an expert on walls, but I was there today, and the wall looks terrific. Straight as an arrow, nice and thick, kind of concaved on the sides. I feel it improves the property. The code issue is not something I care to speak of, but
Thank you.
it's a nice job.
Mr. McLaughlin, any other question?
No questions, just a comment that the applicant made about us being difficult to deal with.
You? No.
Board, or
Me?
the city, yeah.
Me?
Earlier,
Today?
when you were addressing the building commissioner.
No, sir. I've been in this board many times. Now, I will tell you, I feel like I've had history with you, but definitely this board has not been difficult to work with. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. I would be doing my work somewhere else.
Okay.
Yeah. So if that was, yeah, I want to make sure it's understood correctly.
About the city.
I enjoy coming in front of this board, and I mean it.
Earlier.
And it's actually changing the dynamics of the board. It's getting more diversified, and I like that. So I enjoy coming in front of this board. I know you have a tough job in trying to move the city in a forward direction and making it as easy as possible for people that are trying to drive change in construction and building. And we're out there trying to execute on it, and it's not easy. So trying to find a happy medium ground, I think, goes a long way. And I appreciate all of you for that. You've been very fair. So, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. And Mr. Pateo, we try so hard to be fair.
I know you do. So, thank you.
And it is, we have to allow everybody to have a say, because having different voices that have conflicting opinions have a discussion on something and come to a conclusion, that's how we get the best results.
I agree.
always believe that. So
Yeah.
I'm going to note that there was an email dated January 13th that again goes through the reason for the continuance, but I think you've discussed it, so I'm
Yeah.
not going to read it into the record. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, I just want to make sure that when we do get to a point where, for final approval, that I don't see, and I could be missing, did the parking across the street have to go before site plan?
That's
It
already
did.
been, that's
It
already
was-
been through. It's already approved.
Yep, so I just want to make sure that when we get to that point of final approval, the site plan was part of our conditions, that maybe we could get a copy of it so that we can review that to make sure that the site plan has been completed as well.
So definitely a copy should be made available. The other thing that I have been asking, and this is a recent thing, is I'm asking Chantel where there's planning board conditions on the site plan to do a review as well, so that she can let us know whether from that perspective those conditions have been satisfied. It's helpful where we weren't the body that issued the site plan decision,
Yeah.
obviously.
Commissioner has a...
Yes, Mr. Commissioner.
For the sake of efficiency, and transparency. The enforcement of those conditions is not the charge of this board. It is my charge, and it is my team's charge as the zoning enforcement officers for the city. In addition, we've built in, just like we built in the redundancy in our sign-off process on OpenGov, where the chair of the zoning board has a sign-off before I issue a certificate of occupancy, to make sure that all the conditions of the special permit or variance were complied. The planning board has an equal sign-off, and Chantel does actively review all of those and go through them. And we actually have a few projects right now that are on hold because of site plan conditions and planning board special permit conditions when everything else has already been met and signed off, and we're not issuing certificates of occupancy for that. Those checks are already built into the system. There's no reason for this board to get planning board special permits and reviewing them as part of their review process. I think it slows down the process. It's not business friendly for Fitchburg, and it's outside the scope of this board.
Okay. So
I have
then,
some feedback.
no, Mr. McLaughlin, just a moment. Let me respond before
Thank
you
you.
do, but I will give you an opportunity for feedback. Where the special permit from the ZBA incorporates the site plan conditions from the planning board, then it is the business of the ZBA to ensure that those have been met. It is certainly not. It is certainly not the intent of the board or of myself to slow down anything, but merely to ensure that the conditions have been complied with. Mr. McLaughlin, if you want to make a response, go ahead.
Sure, I was just simply requesting that the board have a copy of the approved plan and the conditions, that's all.
Okay. All right. I'd like to move forward on the continuance. Anything else before I do?
No, thank you for your time, and
Mr. Mateo.
I hope to have a better update in a couple months for you, okay?
So I'm going to move to discussion on the continuance among board members. One of the things that we have done to try to ease the process and the number of reviews that we have before us is to set a far-out date and simply allow the permit holder to request an earlier review date if they have in fact completed the process. It requires the permit holder to make that request approximately a month before the meeting, because our meetings are monthly, but I do think it kind of eases the issue of repeat reviews without the project being done. And so I'm going to suggest that this might be an appropriate project for that to happen on, and invite any other comment from the board. Anyone have a comment on that?
Just if you could ask the applicant when he feels the whole project's going to be completed. Was that the 2 months that you were referencing?
Hoping for 2 months, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
I support your hope.
Hey,
It's January, February, and March.
yeah, that's plenty of time.
Project. So expressing my preference to the
Yeah.
board, it would be to set the review at a year and allow the applicant to request a sooner review date if they're actually done. Any other comment on that?
So a lot of it is concrete work and all that?
Yeah, so, I mean, right now we're placing concrete blocks starting, after the ledge gets hammered out. And the final part of it will be paving, so, obviously paving and the weather, to throw down final coat of paving, you need somewhat good weather. And if you catch a streak of good weather during the next couple of months, then you do it. And if not, you wait. So,
Okay.
yeah.
There's no pave blacktop available till spring, right? Like March?
It depends. Some people are able to get it,
Yeah.
yeah, from the factory.
Well, I appreciate your optimism. I think it's just this board has been looking
Yeah.
at this project for, 3 years now?
3 years now.
So it'd be nice
Well,
to see it completed.
Yeah, me too. And I'm glad I took it over, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and it's already made significant progress, so.
Yeah, and just for the clarity, for the public's sake, 3 years was not with you
Yeah.
at all. Was it November that your
Yeah.
involvement started?
Pretty much.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so with that, does anybody want to make a motion on the continuance date?
Make the motion for the continuance until, did we say,
1 year.
February?
No, 1 year.
In 1 month?
No.
No, I'm asking.
My suggestion was
Was it-
1 year with the allowance.
Oh, and just
for them
let him notify us when he's ready. Okay, so we'll put that out till,
Oh, it's going to be the 26th.
how about if we just do December 22nd, 2025?
Thank you.
Because I have that date in front of me.
That's a great suggestion,
Thank you.
sir. With the, allowing the applicant to request a sooner review date?
That's correct, and that all conditions, I guess, remain, right?
We'll need to review that, I think, at the review date.
Okay. Yeah, because I see grass to be installed by May 2023, so.
That's an old date. I wasn't even around in May 2023.
We're not.
Yeah, but
All right,
we'll
so
get the grass.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. So hopefully we'll see you before December.
Thank you. And I should just contact Mercedes when we're ready.
Yes.
All right,
So
thanks. Have a good
because of the
evening.
advertising dates, do it at the 1 month prior date, please.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Have a good night, sir. Next, I am going to call ZBA 23-40. This is 180 Main Street, and this is Travis Bove. This is the review of a special permit under Section 181.313 D12 of the Fitchburg zoning ordinance to occupy and operate an exhaust and auto repair shop pursuant to Section 181.94 located in the downtown business district. All right. So I take it the permit holder is not here.
He emailed me today, this afternoon. I forwarded you that email.
Thank you.
Yeah, he emailed at 4:37 p.m.
Okay. I would like to reiterate that I cannot be held accountable to read emails that are sent at 4:27 p.m. on the night of the meeting, before the meeting, but I appreciate the fact that there was a communication. I'm going to look for that communication now. Okay. So the communication reads, "Hi, Mercedes. This is Travis Bove. I'm writing you in regards to tonight's zoning meeting for 180 Main Street. I've been under the weather with cold. I thought I would be able to shake this prior to the meeting, but that doesn't seem to be the case. If we could reschedule the meeting for a later date, that would be much appreciated. Please and thank you, Travis." Mercedes asked, what is the extension request for March, April, and May? And I do not think there was a response in time. The outstanding issue on this particular matter has been whether or not the parking plan from 2017 needs to be changed because there's been a change in the traffic pattern. Because this lies right next to the Water Street Bridge, we now have two-way Main Street, we now have two-way Boulder Drive. And I will say that I have reached out myself to Police Department, and I have reached out myself to DPW, and I have asked for any comment on this. I have not received any comment on this or a response. That is a little frustrating to me. I understand, however, that there is a lot going on with those departments, and it's difficult for them to make a response to all the boards that is required. But I would either like, at the next meeting, to settle this issue, because we've been asking this question, I think, since summer. And I definitely have put out a communication in October asking for a response. And either it needs to be changed or it matters so little that neither department is responding to our request. And I don't know what the answer is, but at the next meeting, I would really like to resolve the question. And if neither department, traffic or DPW, has a change that matters, then I'm inclined to move it forward because I don't know what else would hold it up. So that's my comment on this. I am going to see, is there any person present who would like to make a comment on this review? there any person online who would like to make a comment on the review? If so, please raise your hand. I see none. Any other comment from Mr. Commissioner on a board or a board member?
No comments.
Okay. All right. So my thoughts are to put this out 2 months to the March meeting. What is the March meeting date, Mercedes, please? March 11th. Thank you. So can I have a motion on the continuance, please?
I make a motion, ZBA 23-40 be continued until March
11th,
11th, 2026.
2025?
All right, 2025.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None? That matter is continued till March 11th, 2025. The next matter on our agenda is ZBA 2022-33. This is Christopher Cordio, 109 Oak Hill Road. This is the review of a special permit to operate a restaurant under Section 181.313 of the Fitchburg zoning ordinance located in Residential C. And I want to note on this particular petition that it was last before the board, I believe in October or November. After the meeting, it was noted that there had been a deed transferring the ownership interest in the property from the permit holder to another party. And that this is a special permit that is subject to revocation if there is a transfer of ownership prior to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy. Mercedes, I can't locate our last decision. Do you have it in front of you? At any rate, this special permit review was specifically advertised, that the special permit was subject to a vote on revocation due to violation of conditions, and a copy of notice was sent to the permit holder, and I believe the abutters again. Is that correct, Mercedes? As if this was the initial permit being granted, because this is, at this point, consideration of revocation. I'm just going to wait a moment so that I have the last decision in my hands. And I appreciate your assistance on this matter. Thank you so much. Okay. So this is condition number 12, sunset clause. Special permit expires upon transfer of ownership from Christopher Cordio or his wholly owned entity designated to the building department within 30 days of the date of the decision. So this was, and let me correct my initial statement, this was a condition that would cause the special permit to expire no matter when there was a transfer of ownership, whether or not the certificate of completion has been issued. Now, we drown in paper here at the ZBA. There was a deed recorded on September 10th, 2024, and this was a deed from Christopher Cordio to Cornerstone Commercial Capital, Inc., a New Hampshire corporation. And I do have a copy of the deed so that any of the board members can review the same. But on that basis, as well as the fact that there has really been no progress at all on this project, we'd be looking to or I would be looking for a revocation of the special permit at this time.
I'll make a motion under,
I apologize. I have to look for any public comment first.
oh, my apologies, Madam Chair.
Is there any person here who would like to make a comment on this matter? Is there any person online who would like to make a comment on this matter? Okay. Seeing none, Mr. Commissioner, any comment on this matter?
Nothing from my end.
Thank you, sir.
Can I,
Absolutely, thank you.
just so like, for the records that we mail a certified notice to the new owner to be like, that we had an open hearing tonight, but
Right.
no response.
Thank you very much, Mercedes. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you're taking the extra steps on notice for this particular matter. Any board member have a question or comment? Mr. Gallagher?
So, no correspondence at all from the new owner?
No, I received a return certified, like in a part that it was signed. It
Signed
was
and delivered?
received and delivered, yeah, but no contact.
No contact.
Okay, thank you.
All right. In light of that, I'd be looking for a motion to revoke the special permit for conditions violated.
I'll make a motion under ZBA 2022-33 for the applicant Christopher Cordio at 109 Oak Hill Road to revoke the special permit.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. All right, the special permit is hereby revoked, and any new owner will need to seek a new application. At this point in time, thank you so much, the next matter on the agenda is ZBA 24-370 Amiott Street. However, this matter is listed for consideration at 7 p.m. It is currently 6:48, and the board is not able to call the matter prior to its time listed in the agenda. Therefore,
Madam Chair,
yes, Mr. Reynolds.
would you consider addressing any miscellaneous items during these 10 minutes?
Thank you. That is an excellent suggestion.
What a
The
guy.
miscellaneous-
What a guy.
The miscellaneous items can be addressed, and they do not require time compliance. Thank you. So our items, the item that I would like to take care of is the election of officers, which must be done once a year. And the three offices are the clerk, the vice chair, and the chair. Being in reverse order, myself, Mr. McLaughlin, and Mr. Byrne currently. I am going to ask whether any other board member would like to run for the office of chair. Anyone want to be the chair? No? Mr. Gallagher, I don't think is going to say that he would like to run for chair, but he has stepped outside. You cannot run for chair, Mr.
Oh, I don't
Commissioner.
want to be running. But can I make a sales pitch for a chair? Sweeten the deal of it being the chair?
Go ahead, sir.
In addition to the probably 20 extra hours a month in addition to this meeting that the chair does, and site visits that the chair does, it does come with a nice, what is it, $1,200 stipend?
Per year.
Something like that per year?
It does.
So if someone would want that to trade off for 20 hours a month,
Which works out to be annually about 33 cents an hour.
It does.
Bigger than
It
that,
does.
30%.
It is a very small percentage of the minimum wage.
He looks like he'd be happy with that.
Mr. Gallagher,
with what?
would you like to run for chair this year?
Certainly. I think.
Okay. In all seriousness, does anyone besides myself wish to put in a nomination to serve as chair?
I'd like to nominate Christine Tree as the chair.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Mostly aye.
Gave you a big eye.
Thank you. The next position with much fewer hours and no compensation, well, some fewer hours and no compensation, is vice chair. Does any other member of the board, actually, I should ask Mr. McLaughlin, do you wish to serve as the vice chair again?
Of course he does.
Okay,
Okay.
sure.
Does any other member wish to be nominated to serve as vice chair? Okay.
If any other member would like to do so, please, I would be more than happy to allow you the opportunity.
Sorry, Michael.
Honestly,
It's all yours, Mike.
so.
Sorry, Michael.
Mr. McLaughlin puts in a lot of hours on both this board as well as the Water Sewer Commission and a lot of other service to the city in his off time, if such a thing exists. So I am very appreciative of all his contributions, whether or not I agree with him on any particular matter.
I feel with all the effort he puts in, it's only fitting he has a title that goes with his effort.
True.
I agree, Mr. Reynolds.
Board member is a good title.
I nominate Mike McLaughlin.
I second that nomination. Any discussion on the nomination? All those in favor of Mr. McLaughlin serving again as the vice chair of the board?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? And the last position is clerk. Mr. Byrne, do you wish to serve as clerk in the upcoming term?
I'm sure that I will.
I will nominate
I'm
Mr.
happy
Byrne.
to be included in this august board. And as the clerk, if you want me to give an acceptance speech, I will.
Okay, all right. You are maintaining, I think, a devout set of groupies
Oh, yes, I've
for
got
the
a
zoning
great group
board,
of groupies
so
out
we
there.
appreciate that contribution. Is there any other person or board member who would like to serve as the chair? I'm sorry, I'm
Clerk.
still looking for somebody.
Clerk of Courts.
Anyone else who would
Are
like
you
to serve
trying to
as
get
the
rid of
clerk?
this, Christine?
I am not. I am trying to provide an equal opportunity to all board members.
Good, I understand.
Okay. Then we have a nomination of Mr. Byrne to serve as the clerk. Second, thank you very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Mr. Byrne, congratulations.
Thank you.
On
Thank you.
continuing to be the clerk. All right. So that, I think that wraps up the miscellaneous items I would like to address at this time. We have this continuing issue of fees being restructured, and the chair needs to undertake some time so that she can rewrite the proposed rules in order to put that into effect. So that is not something that I want to take the opportunity to look at right now or at the end of the meeting. I am going to note again to all board members that in March, there is the upcoming CPTC conference that is given annually. It will be held at Holy Cross down in Worcester. There have been some substantial revisions to statutes in zoning over the past year that I think it would merit every board member to get an update on. So I encourage you to sign up for that, and that would be through Mercedes and attend. We do have funding available to pay for the cost of the registration. So it is 6:55. I am going to call a 5-minute recess, and we will reconvene at 7 p.m. All right. Thank you, everybody, for your patience during our recess. We are now continuing the January 14th, 2025 meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. And the next matter before us is ZBA 24-37. This is Elizabeth Sodana Brisebois, 0 Amiott Street. It is a continued application for a dimensional variance under Section 181.416 of the Fitchburg Code to grant a reduction in the amount and quality of frontage required where the frontage is on a paper street on a vacant lot pursuant to Section 181.93 in the Residential B District. Ma'am, welcome back to the meeting. You are welcome to take a seat at the table if you would like. And if you can just state your name and city of residence for the minutes.
My name's Elizabeth Sodano Brisebois.
Thank you very much. And you reside in Fitchburg?
Yes, I do. 27 Pratt Road.
Okay. And if you don't mind moving that microphone a little bit closer to you, because the public will not be able to pick up your voice because it is sweet and dulcet and a little bit soft. So. All right, so you were last here before us on this variance, and I believe your attorney is with us online, is
Yes,
that right,
he is.
Mr.
Yes.
Anctil? So, counsel, I am going to permit you to speak, and if you can also give us your name and city of business.
Can you hear me, Madam
Yes.
Chair?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. It's Rob Ansel. I'm an attorney in Westford. My law firm is Perkins and Ansel. We were before you at your December meeting, and there was some question as to why we were before the board. I think that we universally connected, and the thought was that our quality of frontage was not satisfied because of the growth off of Amiott Street, despite the fact that Amiott is a public way that has been accepted by the city. We did, my client, who's obviously in front of you, had reached out to the fire department to make sure that they were okay with locating a house on this lot, and they had indicated that they were happy with, or that they had looked at the site and that they were okay with the quality of frontage that was available off of Amiott Street. At our last meeting, there was some discussions as to whether or not I needed, or that the lot needed a dimensional variance, and it meets all of the dimensional requirements, and I believe with the information from the fire department that we should be okay to go forward, and we don't need a variance. If the board was inclined to grant a variance, I certainly would go through the elements which are required to issue a variance.
Okay. I am going to pause you for a moment, sir, because after receipt of the letter from Chief Suarez, which I appreciated, I had reached out to him and asked him to be present at this meeting so that he could discuss the letter with the board, because the letter refers to sensible engineered plans for construction as a condition of the fire department having no concerns, and I did want to have an understanding of what that was. I do not see Chief Suarez present, unless anybody here is here on his behalf from the fire department, but I don't see that, and I don't see anyone online who would be acting in that capacity. Mr. Commissioner, did you have a comment on that at all?
No, I just wanted to reiterate for the record that I have to recuse myself from any discussions on this particular matter because of my prior business relationship with Attorney Ansell's practice.
Very good. Thank you for reminding us. Can I ask Attorney I'm sorry, am I saying Anctil or Ansell?
It's Ansell.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Did you have a discussion with Chief Suarez on this issue where you could enlighten us on what that means, sensible engineered?
My client had discussions with Chief Suarez. Procedurally, what we are, or not procedurally, factually what we are looking to do is my client is looking to know that she has the ability to have a buildable lot so that she can go and sell this lot. She, on an informational purposes basis, approached the building department, and the building department said that your quality of frontage is inadequate. My client then filled out an application with Mercedes and
I appreciate that, counsel, but that's not the question that I'm asking you. I am asking you whether there was any conversation with Chief Suarez that would enlighten this description of sensible engineered plans.
I'm not trying to dominate the whole meeting. What I was going to say is that I think there was no direct conversation. I did not have a conversation with him. The board said, go to the fire department and figure out if they were okay with our quality of our access to the property. We did that. I think that if you were inclined to issue a decision that said that we need to make sure that our access is approved by the fire department prior to the issuance of a building permit, I think that everybody would be satisfied that your health and safety concerns are addressed. This is a compliant lot, which is on a public way that is taxed at a full value for a buildable lot. I don't really know what else I can do on our side. You asked the fire department to be here. I think that we don't have, it's pretty obvious where the driveway would end up being located on this lot. It's not a tremendously large lot, but we didn't do a driveway design because frankly we don't know what that buyer would want to do. I think it does make sense to say, fire department, are you okay with access to the lot? They've indicated that they are, and as an applicant, I don't know what else we can do.
Okay. And Mrs. Brisbois, I just want to check with you. Did Chief Suarez have any other statement that he made to you that would tell you what this means? Sensible engineered
The only
plans?
conversation, when I called him, and he called me back, and he said that they wouldn't have an issue with the property at all. And he said that he was going to send the email, and this is the email he sent.
Okay.
So that's what he told me.
Thank you, ma'am. In that case, counsel, I'd like you to go through the variance criteria, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Amiott is a public way that was accepted by the city of Fitchburg. The acceptance note, which is filed with the city record, says that it is a public way from 366 Beach Street, ELY, to the dead end. The property is shown on a plan prepared by BKS Trust dated October 12th, 2007. Note that the dimensions of this lot are compliant with your table of dimensional requirements. To have frontage on a lot within the city of Fitchburg, your definition for frontage is the following: a continuous lot line of a street which provides, and this is the key language here tonight, safe, convenient, and meaningful vehicular and utility access to the buildable portion of the lot. Calculations of the frontage dimensional requirements shall be in conformance with section 181-4122 of this ordinance. Section, which I just read, it's hard to follow, 181-4122 defines frontage. It shall be measured in a continuous line of a street between the 2 points of an intersection of the lot lines from the street. In order to grant a variance, as this board knows well, that you have to show that owing to the circumstances relating to the soil conditions, shape, or topography of the land or such structures, especially affecting such land or structures, but not affecting generally the zoning district in which it is located, a literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance or bylaw would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the petitioner or applicant, and that the desired relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the general public, without nullifying or substantially degrading from the intent and purpose of such bylaw. Here we have a dimensionally compliant lot in each one of your requirements as shown on the 2007 plan. We were told that the Fitchburg Fire Department does not have an issue with us building on this dimensionally required lot, which, as I said, is on which is compliant with all requirements of your zoning regulations. This property is unique in that that all surrounding lots, which are of similar size, all have a house that is located on it. To the extent that the frontage is lacking in any regard, it's not lacking relative to safety requirements. The lot is reasonably flat. It is going to be paved up to the lot, and it will provide safe vehicular access not only to the occupants of the home, but also to the fire department. We believe that the variance here would be in order because the property is unique geographically in that it's compliant with your frontage requirements. It's and because of a claim that the frontage is inadequate, it presents an undue hardship that can be alleviated through the grant of a variance. Clearly, the proposed development is in keeping with the character of the neighborhood and that it will not affect values or welfare of similar property owners. We're not looking for your standard dimensional requirements where we are going to be too close to a home or too close to a street, or that we're looking to relocate the home because of some wetland-related issues. This is a compliant lot. The request for the minimum variance would make it possible to use the land, underscoring our commitment to responsible and community-conscious development. We did meet with the fire department, and the property is going to be served by water and sewer.
And can you just reiterate for me what is the issue relating to soil-shaped topography or an existing structure?
The soil conditions, I personally have a hard time figuring out why a variance is required for a dimensionally compliant lot. I think that the building department's thoughts were that since this road, which is a public way accepted by the city of Fitchburg, isn't paved to the end of the lot, that therefore there is an issue with the shape, soil, and topography of this lot. I am proffering to the board that since that this is a flat lot that is dimensionally compliant, that there it doesn't create a health or safety issue. It is compliant with every other lot within this street, and that the unique characteristics, I guess, is that it's a public way to the terminus to the city of Fitchburg's open space parcel, but it's not paved. So that's a unique circumstance. I frankly, there's not a lot of other streets that are accepted as public ways that are not paved.
So I want to be very clear, because as you know, the ZBA must find, in order to grant a dimensional variance, that there is an issue with the soil, the shape, the topography, or an existing structure that creates an issue that is not widely experienced throughout the district. And I think the argument that you have just been making to me is an appeal of the building commissioner's decision, not a request for a dimensional variance, which is what was advertised for this meeting, because that's what was applied for.
Okay,
So
Madam Chair, I
can
certainly
you
can
make me an argument on the soil, shape, topography, or existing structure?
Yes.
Okay.
This lot is unique in that it is located on a public way. It's unique in that the soil, shape, and topography of this lot allows for safe vehicular access to a compliant buildable lot. So the unique characteristic here is that the roadway is not going to be, is not paved to its terminus. Here, you could certainly impose a condition of your variance to say that we are going to have a paved driveway which will provide safe vehicular access, which shall be approved by the fire department.
Okay. Thank you.
So the soil, shape, and topography is unique here in that I don't frankly know of another area where you have an accepted public way that is not, a city-maintained paved road.
We run into them not infrequently on the board, but I don't know that there's another one in this district close to the lot, I would say. Thank you, sir. I am going to go to public comment now. Mr. Commissioner.
I believe Chief Suarez may be joining on Zoom.
Oh, wonderful. Very glad to hear that. I don't believe I see him yet, but Dan, our wonderful FATV technician, if he does see Chief Suarez, that would be appreciated if you could interrupt. I am going to ask if there is any other person here who would like to make comment on this application. Okay. Until Chief Suarez joins us, I'm going to see if the board has any questions for the applicant. Mr. Reynolds, any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Mr. Byrne?
None.
No? Mr. Talbot?
No, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Gallagher?
No questions.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Questions for whom?
The applicant or the applicant's counsel?
Okay. Yes, thank you. The two adjacent lots have been owned by the same family over the years, correct? Or were at one time all three parcels?
Yes, and they broke them out when my client bought the property. I'm not, she can certainly answer that question as well, but.
I can.
Okay, thank you. The other question I have is, there seems to be a fair amount of paperwork, but I can't find any clarification to why some years ago, when there seemed to be an intent to develop the land, that, were there some conservation issues with regards to water?
The lot that's adjacent to this property, which is the Lot 2, as shown on the plan, they were going to build on that lot, and they went to the Conservation Commission. I don't know where the wetland line is on that property. That order of conditions would have lapsed by now.
Yes,
There's not a house that was built on that. I don't know what happened to that, and I don't think Liz knows either.
Okay, so that was Lot 2, not Lot 1.
Correct. It's my client's lot is Lot 3.
And Lot 2 is on the improved portion of the road, correct?
Correct. Basically, the unimproved or the paved section ends basically at my client's property line.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I am going to say that unfortunately, I still don't
Don't see it.
know Chief Suarez on our attendees list virtually. He's not signed up, Dan? Okay.
We do have some
I
communication.
sent him my link to log in as a panelist so that he could.
Okay. I'm just going to,
You guys have that?
unfortunately, I still don't see him. All right. Any other comments, council, before we start board discussion?
No, I think my only comment would be that to me, it's very obvious where the driveway would go. I think that the board's concerns can be addressed through a requirement that at the time of the submission of the building permit that they obtain approval from the fire department of the civil engineering plan or something along those lines. The fire department has previously said that they would do that in light of the fact that they're not here now. I don't see that as any kind of a burden for the future purchaser of the lot.
Okay. Thank you, council. I would like to move to board discussion with the caveat that should Chief Suarez join us, I am going to go to him for any comment that he can add. Mr. Reynolds, any comment on the application?
It's a general comment, which is that when a variance is required, and I understand the threshold of a variance versus a special permit, when you've got land that otherwise cannot be developed, you know, at what point do you say it's in the best interest of the city to develop it versus just leave it forever? It's just a general question.
Thank you. Appreciate the question. Mr. Byrne, any comment on this application?
I do. I promised I didn't go to sleep, but I heard you ask Mr. Ansel why he wanted a variance. And he went on and on and on and on, but he didn't give any of the three reasons that we need a variance covered. He didn't say anything about how he meets those criteria. Did I miss something? Or
Mr. Burns,
tap dance?
So, Attorney Inksel, I did not close the public hearing purposefully, so you may answer the question if you would like.
okay. Third time. The lot shape. The lot is uniquely shaped, and that you were telling me that our quality of our frontage is not compliant with your regulations. Here we have a way that is flat. It has been accepted by, and this is what it makes is unique as to its shape. It is unique in its shape in that it's compliant with zoning. It is a public way, and it has adequate frontage and land area as shown on an approval not required plan that was endorsed by the city of Fitchburg in 2017. So we're not talking about a particularly old plan. That is our shape. Our soil conditions are unique in that we are not looking for a variance relative to wetlands topography or either a downward slope or an upward slope. We are in an area which is reasonably flat. So that's soil shape. Our topography is unique in this situation in that most of the time that you're looking for a dimensional variance, you're not looking at a flat lot. So in my opinion,
Counselor, the only thing I see different about the topography being unique is that it's too small.
It's not too small. This is a dimensionally compliant lot. The problem that the building department raised is that it is not paved to the terminus of the lot. My lot is 100% dimensionally compliant. There's not a single requirement that we don't meet. So my problem
Counsel, I'm going to interrupt you at this point, as well as Mr. Byrne. I apologize.
No problem.
Because Chief Suarez has graciously joined us, and I very much appreciate him taking the time to do that. Chief, welcome to the meeting.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. The question that I wanted to ask you and have the board consider is you had kindly issued this letter stating that you had no concerns about fire department access to this lot, which does not have the road paved on the frontage. It ends just as the frontage begins. And you stated that you had the assumption that sensible engineered plans would be used for construction. Can you enlighten us as to what are some of the requirements that you would expect to see in a sensible engineered plan? Thank you.
Yeah, so what doesn't really concern us too much is frontage. Frontage and access to us are two different things. Mm-hmm. So what we would really need is just access from the paved road to a paved driveway. Like I stated, as long as it's sensible architectural plans with, say, 20 feet of width, and that we can get a fire engine into that driveway and access the building. That's about all that we would really need. It would be no different than any other property that's in Fitchburg. There's plenty of properties where it's just a single driveway where we drive up to, and we access the building from that driveway.
Okay. Is there a distance from the nearest fire hydrant? In other words, because I don't see that there's a fire hydrant right near that property on that road, is there a distance from the fire hydrant to the residence that should be respected? Is there a maximum distance?
Oh, yeah, so that's set by the insurance companies, but typically we like to see a hydrant within 900 feet of a property. Some of the outskirts in Fitchburg are far beyond that. When I lived on High Rock Road, it was very similar. Hydrant access was, more than a mile away. In this property, this neighborhood, the hydrant access is within that limit.
Okay, thank you. If you can stay with us for just a minute, I'm just going to see if any other board member has a question they would like to ask you. Mr. Reynolds, Mr. Byrne? Mr. McLaughlin, any question?
No, Madam Chair.
Mr. Galvin?
No question, thank you.
Mr. Talbot? No question.
I'm so sorry.
Go ahead, counsel. Did you have a question you wanted to ask Chief Suarez?
No, I guess I would. Sorry, well, maybe I can ask the chief. The board is concerned with the quality of the frontage. It's pretty obvious to me where a driveway would be located on this lot. My thoughts, there's 125 feet of frontage along the public way. My thoughts were that when a building permit was applied for, that perhaps it could be reviewed by the fire department.
Sure. So I noticed that on the road where this lot is located, it looks like the paved road ends and there's maybe 50 or 70 feet of kind of a gravelly road. So we would like that paved driveway to meet a paved portion of the road. And that would just give us the best and most efficient access to the property.
Okay.
And I guess my thoughts were that the ZBA could make that either a requirement endorsing the chief's recommendation, or we could have additional approval with the chief.
Okay. Thank you, counsel. With no other questions, Chief Suarez, I really appreciate your taking the time to speak with us tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Take care. Okay. I am going to revert to the question that had been asked by Mr. Byrne, and was being answered by counsel, which I will reiterate as stating how the applicant meets the criteria for a variance.
Fourth try.
Mr. Burns?
Yes.
So this lot is located, Madam Chair, can you call up the approval not required plan,
I can.
which you had? This property is located in your RB district. It has municipal water and sewer. The requirements for a lot within this district are 10,000 square feet, 80 feet of frontage, and the minimum front yard requirement is 25 feet, side yard requirement is 15, the rear yard requirement is 30. This lot has 125 feet of frontage and 10,021 square feet of land, so it's not, my problem with asking for a variance is that you have a compliant buildable lot. It does have 125 feet of frontage. The problem that the building department had was not the dimensional length of the distance, because it is compliant. 80 feet is required. We have 125 feet in on lot 3 as shown on the plan, so our linear frontage is not a problem. They're saying that it's not paved, or the frontage is not in compliance with your requirement, which says that it must provide safe, convenient, and meaningful vehicular and utility access to the buildable portion of the lot. We just heard from the chief saying that this lot will comply with the safe, convenient, and meaningful vehicular and utility access requirement of your zoning bylaws.
So, counsel, I am going to stop you there, and I'm going to ask if any other board member has a further question of the applicant. And then, without objection, I am going to close the public hearing, and this means we move to board deliberation, and we cease to take any further outside comment. Okay. So, Mr. Byrne, now that we have closed the public hearing, I am guessing that what you are driving at is the issue that I hear along with you in the argument that is presented by the applicant is that a large part of the discussion is really around appealing the determination of the building commissioner, not a dimensional variance.
Right.
And in a dimensional variance, we must find that there is an issue with the soil, the shape, the topography, or an existing structure. Any one of those four, not all four, but any one of those four that creates a condition that is not experienced by everybody in the district, that leads to a hardship, economic or otherwise, and that adequate relief can be granted to the applicant without derogating from the purpose and intent of zoning. Those are the three criteria for variance. And I would encourage all of us, applicants do not always appear before us with the criteria strictly in mind, because it's their lot and they have, they have an outlook on it. But to evaluate the evidence that has been presented to us and see whether it does meet the criteria nonetheless. So
I have a question. I still have a question.
Do you have a question?
What's the variance for?
The variance is, so that one I can answer.
Okay.
The frontage along Amiott Street is on a paper street which has not been built.
All right.
And the variance would be from the requirement that frontage provide safe, convenient, and meaningful vehicular and utility access to the buildable portion of the lot. And then the requirement of how much frontage is 80 feet in this particular district. Does that answer your question?
Okay, I understand.
Okay. Mr. Talbot, do you have any comment or what's your discussion on this particular application and whether or not it meets the variance criteria?
I think the shape of the lot kind of creates a hardship.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you have any other comment on the allowance or non-allowance of the variance?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Do you think it would be beneficial? Can relief be granted without derogating from the intent and purpose of the zoning ordinance? Okay. Mr. Gallagher, do you have any comment or discussion on this
Discussion,
variance?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Given the fact that it's on a paper road and 80 feet is required for the lot, the road is not improved. Couldn't that fall under the criteria of soil?
Well, I think that's up to us to determine,
I think it,
yeah, whether that
think
would
it
fall
does.
under the criteria of soil.
okay.
Thank you. Mr. McLaughlin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Looking at it through the paperwork, it appears as though over time the property owners have owned contiguous lots, 1, 2, and 3. And, as zoning speaks to when you have, contiguous lots that are not conforming, that they should merge to create some less conformity. It appears that they own the lot next door, which certainly would have given frontage to the land. Looking at the hardship and the mandatory findings, the soil conditions, the unimproved road in front of the lot, I don't see how that meets the criteria, because the soil, there's no unique soil condition on the unimproved lot versus the land. The applicant clearly can develop this lot. They just have to improve the road. This board is not taking away the applicant's right or, the property owner's right to build a house on this land. They just have to improve the road according to city design standards. So, I think it's a great lot, and it'd be great to see it developed. There are some underlying issues I don't think anybody knows about, which, conservation, if there were wetland issues on the lot to the lot number 2, are there wetland issues or conservation issues on this lot? I don't know. It's not this board's purview. But looking strictly at the criteria, I don't see where it's actually met. The shape doesn't lend itself. This is purely a question of frontage. There is no hardship if you look at the dollar value that the land was purchased at, how long the land was owned, the investment to improve the road to put a buildable lot, to access a buildable lot these days. It's probably not a hardship. It's an investment to the land. But I'm open to some conversation with the board to help me understand it.
Does any other person want to engage in that conversation or make a further comment? Go ahead, Mr. Byrne.
No, I'm fine.
Yeah. Okay. Mr. McLaughlin, I also would appreciate some other comment from board members. I don't recall there ever being lack of a constructed road being a soil condition, but I appreciate the thought that it may. The shape of the lot, I would not necessarily myself consider the shape of the lot to be the issue that creates the problem. The problem is very simply that the road has not been constructed, or that it lies on a portion of the road that has not been constructed. I think it's a lovely lot to be built on. So if I think of the most appropriate use of the land, which is part of the criteria as far as whether or not granting the variance would derogate from the purpose or intent of zoning, the use of this lot as a single-family dwelling lot, I think is the most appropriate use. But I think that it's a reach to find that we meet one of the first 4 criteria. And if we were to make that reach, I do think that there would be some improvements that would be required as a condition, because otherwise the relief granted would derogate from the intent and purpose of the zoning ordinance. I do see the hardship because the construction of a city-compliant road is a substantial expense. And so to do even 80 feet of that along the front of this, it's a hardship. I don't think the construction of a driveway is a hardship. That's a necessary part of every building lot. But I feel we are stretching it to call it its soil. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one other comment. I would say within the last year, we also had although all cases are unique and all applications are unique, we had a very similar request for this board where the applicant did not have any frontage and there was a paper street that was unimproved. And, the board did look at that particular request for a variance and denied it. I just would caution us that, although all cases are unique, which they are, that, we had almost an exact request before us, the same situation. So.
Go ahead, Mr. Reynolds.
Just along the lines of thinking that we're discussing the variance as opposed to the applicant did not apply as an
Appeal.
appeal of the ruling of the building commissioner. If they did apply in that way, which seems, as we've said, seems to align with one of their defense, would the board feel differently about it, or do we give them the option to withdraw?
Well, I think that the applicant, whether or not we vote on this particular application, would still have the option of an appeal if they had the zoning determination letter reissued, because we have the 30-day issue. So I think that option is still open to them with a vote or without a vote. Yep.
I guess I'm advocating for just to, as we conclude, just to make sure that the options are understood.
Are you sure you want to make a comment, Mr. Commissioner? Okay. It is very difficult to sit out a zoning hearing when you're used to participating, but we appreciate your compliance with the ethics rules.
Thank you for the reminder.
All right. So I think reaching that discussion, if we move forward on this application, I'd first like to have a vote on whether or not board members are inclined to grant the variance or not. And then if sufficient board members are inclined to grant the variance, then we would have a further motion on any conditions under which the variance would be issued. And before I take this vote, I am going to ask council to give me a one-word answer on whether or not there's a preference, after hearing the board deliberation, to request leave to withdraw without prejudice.
Didn't you just ask me you're going to do the straw poll first? I'm sorry, I'm confused as to what you said.
I'm asking you, before we take a vote, would you rather request a leave to withdraw without prejudice?
Okay, so I'm not remotely trying to be difficult. It's hard for me not talking to my client. If the board is going, what I thought you were saying is that you were going to take a straw poll prior to actually taking a formal vote. And after the straw poll, you were going to ask me what my client's position was. That does not appear to be what you're asking. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm asking you the question before I take the straw poll.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
I just would like,
I'm sorry, I don't feel comfortable making a pre-vote on a case, and then after the applicant kind of sees which way the wind is blowing, to give them the opportunity to leave to withdraw.
okay.
I'm sorry.
I second that.
Setting a precedence that's probably not good.
I second that.
Mr. McLaughlin and Mr. Byrne, rightfully, I take the suggestion that we should, despite sympathy for the applicant, stick to procedure. Okay. Attorney Engel, the question's withdrawn. So we are going to,
And I guess we could still withdraw my application at this point. And I totally don't understand where we are. This is a public way that's accepted by the city.
Mr. Engel, and I apologize. I very much appreciate your advocacy for your client, but I don't want to have you reiterate the argument again that has already been made because we need to move on the next matter in this meeting.
Okay, and what you are telling me is I have a right to withdraw my application if that's what I want to do, correct?
Now.
You have the right to make that the request, and the board would vote on the request if made.
Is it possible to have the discussion that the other board member brought up?
What I'm going to offer you, because you are here remotely without the ability to speak to your client, and I have sympathy for that. We have another matter that is going to take a little while, and I can certainly suspend this and resume it at the end of the meeting, but it's going to be some time.
Where they can get on the phone and talk.
Well, can we?
And then you can speak to your client in the interim.
Okay, I guess, can we ask for a continuance to the next meeting?
You can ask for one, and then we would take a vote on whether or not that would, the board members would want to do that.
I mean, I think it's a reasonable question that we can ask to say if procedurally what happened is my client went into the building department, she filled out an application.
So, Attorney Engel, again, I don't want you to go through the whole argument again because
I'm not making the whole argument.
Because of time. Do you want to request a continuance to another meeting?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to ask for a board member to make that motion as a motion in the affirmative. Is there any board member willing to make that motion?
You want it?
I'd like the motion.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. Any discussion on this motion? Go ahead, Mr. Glafflin.
This is the second meeting. The applicant has counsel, and I think they've had plenty of time to prepare for this. We continued it for them to further prepare for it, and we spent a lot of time on the case. I don't know what other information is going to be brought forth with regards to this. I would assume that they've thoroughly prepared for this, and I'm prepared to make a vote.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. McLaughlin. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Mr. McLaughlin, Mr. Gallagher?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Aye. Okay. So that is a 3-2 vote. It's a majority vote, but it's not on the a majority under our rules. So the motion fails. I am going to offer again, would you like to continue to the end of the meeting and retake this up so that you can speak to your client?
Okay.
Okay. This matter is continued until the end of the next meeting, so ma'am, please stick around. Don't leave the building. Okay. Thank you. We're going to move on to the next matter.
Call the attorney.
She may call her attorney. That is up to her, or vice versa. Calling the next matter, ZBA 24-38. This is Brian Wiebold, 0 Airport Road. This is a request for a special permit under Section 181.313 of the City of Fitchburg Code to open a contractor's yard business on a currently vacant lot pursuant to Section 181.94, located in the Industrial District, map 142, Lot 10, Block 0. All right, sir, welcome to the meeting. Can you please give us your name, capacity, and city of business?
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members. My name is Frank Occupenti from Weston Sampson Engineers. I'm here on behalf of Minocello Brothers. I'm here with Frank Minocello and Brian Rebold, the applicant for this project. And I'm going to share a PowerPoint that I have.
All right. So I'm sure that the board members are going to have a number of questions on this project. What I'd look for from you this evening is a good full description of the use and the improvements that are contemplated.
Again, this project is for Zero Airport Road. And it's for site improvements and the use of a contractor's yard related to scrap recycling. So our objectives today is to look for approval for development of contractor's yard for scrap metal recycling at Zero Airport Road. And our deadline is approaching because we're looking to close on the property, client's looking to close on the property by the end of January. So this is the property location at Zero Airport Road, and the proposed improvements include a administration building, which you see highlighted in blue, and that's going to be slightly set back further from the previous building that was located in that vicinity. In addition to that, there'll be a small scale house, which you can see between the two scales. There will also be parking in front of the building, on the side of the building, and adjacent to the property line. There will be two scales situated roughly in the middle of the yard on either side of the scale house. And then there'll be concrete bins for scrap metal sorting along this side. And then entrance and exit through the yard will be through existing gates, which are already, and curb cuts already on the property. So to the left, you could see this was the old Falua paper mill, which you can see that there were buildings along Airport Road and continued down to the other road on the opposite side. This was an aerial photo in 2009 and 2012. It was demolished. This is an aerial in 2023 of what the property looks like now. And this is a schematic of that proposed development. So with all the features that I just mentioned. There are some existing contaminated piles on the property, so the first step would be to clean those piles and clean the property before any improvements were made onto that property. As far as improvements to the property. There were existing connections to water and sewer, which would be hooked up onto that property. The drainage for that property, we intend on containing that all on site and complying with all state and local regulations in regards to that. And then this is just an example, again, of that administration building. This is one of their facilities located in New Hampshire, which, again, is the same type of operation. So that just gives you a good example of what you would see as far as the setup. And that's pretty much it. We understand, there will be additional submittals regard to final plans, and again, for the stormwater permit, and again, we're going to have to do some cleanup on the property, and we'll have to deal with DEP on that. So those will all be addressed in future submittals.
Okay. Do you have anything else in your presentation?
That's it.
Okay. Before the questions start, I just wanted to say to you, we always appreciate seeing professionals at the ZBA. We appreciate your presence and the ability to answer questions with the knowledge that you have. So thank you for making the presentation and attending the meeting. So let me start with some basic issues, and I'm going to ask you to go back to the second page, I believe, or the third page of the plan, where you show the proposed building on the property, that one. Okay. What is the setback going to be from the front boundary line?
Again, this is a preliminary plan. I think it's shown as roughly 37, 38 feet. 37 or 38 feet. Yeah, and again, the other property was right up the foundation, which is still located on the property, is located, abuts the road right up to the fence line.
It does. It was also torn down in 2012. So, but thank you for giving me the dimension. And then what are the dimensions of the proposed building?
The proposed building is roughly 70 by 150.
What's the height proposed?
I think we had less than 20 feet.
Now, your description, the written description indicated that 20 to 30 employees would be anticipated.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
The initial description that you issued of the use, the written description, indicated that there were 20 to 30 employees expected on the site?
Yes.
Okay. What is the timeline anticipated for the build-out of the site to that point?
Well, it would start with, again, we'd have to deal with the cleanup. So we're going to have to file with DEP, do possibly some additional testing of the piles, which are stockpiled currently on the site, and then come up with a plan. So following that, we would develop a formal plan that would include the stormwater permit, as well as finalized plans with more detailed information about the building and future setbacks and details like that. So it could be a year for cleanup, another year for the plans, and then possibly 2+ years, and by the time. Again, depending on how quickly, but the intent is to purchase the property as soon as the end of the month or by next month, and then move forward with plans to start working on the cleanup. So that would take place first before we, so again, it all depends on that DEP process.
Is the purchase dependent upon approval?
We're looking for approval. We want to make, my client wants to make sure that he's going to be able to have the use of this property for what he's intending to use it for before purchasing.
I am glad to hear that, because I always want to make sure people have properly protected themselves. What you've proposed here is, to my point of view, a major redevelopment of the site. And I just want to let you know at the beginning of this hearing that I am not inclined to take a vote on it in January at the first meeting where it's been presented to us. I have a number of questions. And I would like to make sure I fully understand what's going to go on at the site and what the effect of that activity is before we can take the vote. And I want to give the applicant an adequate chance to address those questions before we take a vote on it. The hours of operation for this use that are contemplated?
Frank.
Generally, in our facilities, they're all different depending on what the town allows. My Worcester location is from 6 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
We usually don't start there till 7 o'clock. We open to the public, but we do get in and we get things ready and start machines and stuff like that around 6. My New Hampshire location is 7 to 4. My Everett location is 5:30 to sometimes we're there later at night, whatever. My New Hampshire location is 7 to 4. So it's different, and we would just comply with, it's up for, whatever you guys allow. Obviously, I want to be able to put in as many hours as I could there. Mm-hmm. That affects our operations, but we can work with the city and what their guidelines are and regulations. That's something I guess is up for discussion. But yes, we would like to work as much as we could.
And then since you've made a comment, sir, I have to have you say your name and city of
Frank Minicello.
Thank you. And then your city of residence.
10 Windsor Road, Linfield, Mass.
Thank you. Thank you. Don't need the address, but thank you for it.
You said.
Appreciate it. Okay. You have submitted a description of what the use is going to be there to us that I would like a little more detail on.
Sure.
So you have said, and I'm going off of your project narrative, that the proposed facility will receive, process, and sort scrap metal at this facility prior to being shipped to customers into other facilities. This site will not operate as a storage facility. So the first question is, what is the processing that you are doing on site?
So let me explain that as best I can, of course, so you can understand it further. It's a scrap metal recycling facility that takes scrap metal in from the street. The street meaning, plumbers, electricians, anyone that generates scrap metal. It's brought onto scales, it's weighed, and it's bought at market price. We set the market price in accordance with what we can resell it to our vendors. There's many different vendors for different types of material. Now, the material will come in bulk. So, we can get, let's say, aluminum. Aluminum will come in, and there might be 5, 6 different types of aluminum in that load. We'll take it, we'll process it, we'll segregate it into its proper categories, and then we package it for resale. Same thing with steel, same thing with copper.
What does the word process mean?
Process.
Are you simply taking the pieces and separating them? And
that's part of it in most cases.
Is there shredding going on?
I don't have any shredding going on at that location. It's something we can discuss and talk about. We have machines that cut the material, break apart the material. We got excavators that move the material. If we would approach you at some point for if we were going to put a shredding operation there and say, okay, do we meet the requirements? And it's really quite an operation. I mean, a shredding operation. I have no interest in putting this huge, big shredding operation. You know, if I was going to do something, it would be on a smaller scale, just to process some of the, you know, white goods or light iron. We don't take vehicles. I got no interest in vehicles. They're a pain in the butt. You know, I have no interest in anything like that. Just scrap metal, just steel, you know, white goods, appliances, you know, light material. There's different grades of material when you have, you know, lighter material versus heavy I-beams and cast iron and manholes and stuff like that. That all has to be sorted, segregated, and packaged properly. So at this point, no, I wouldn't say I would open it up and there would be, you'd see a shredder there, but it's something I'd like to discuss, and if we did, we would meet all the regulations and whatever it would take to do that. You know what I mean? There's a whole slew of things you have to go through for that, you know, permitting and stuff like that.
So you've talked about kind of a couple different things, people bringing in scrap metals, but also, you know, your description talks about tractor-trailer trucks that you expect 5 to 20 tractor-trailer trips a day coming in and out of the facility.
Yeah.
Is this something where the public can show up and sell their scrap? Or is this something where you're taking in from professions, or it's already been aggregated somewhere else?
Both. So we encourage any public. I don't care if you have 10 pounds or, you know, 40,000 pounds, 80,000. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter to me the quantity. We welcome everybody in our facility. So it can go from tractor trailer trucks to a guy having some copper in the trunk of his Mercedes or something. It varies, and it's that widespread. We like to be able to service, you know, everybody, the people in the town, as well as the businesses, as well as our own stuff that we go out and pick up. So yes, it would involve tractor trailer trucks, vans, small trucks, cars.
Is it your tractor-trailer trucks or other people's?
Both.
Both?
Yeah, both.
Okay. How many would you expect to have on site?
You know, it's just some days that there won't be any coming in, and other days there could be, you know, 5 or 10. Or, you know what I mean? It's really hard to tell. I mean,
I'm sorry, how many tractor-trailer trucks that you own would you
that I own,
expect to have on site?
Geez, I own a lot of trucks, and, you know, I have 4 facilities, so.
Like 10
Yeah, it
or
could be
like
10, yeah.
50 or like a ballpark?
I don't have 50, but, you know, you got making a couple trips. It could be 10 in a day. It could be 5 in a day. I could have customers that pop in, and I got 10 customers in a day. So it's really, you know, I'm trying to be honest and accurate with you. And I don't want any
appreciate it.
surprises.
You know, I
say, hey, there's going to be 2 trailer trucks coming through here, and you know, you guys are out there counting. I saw 10 today. You know, I don't think that's going to happen, but I just want to give you a clear look at what.
So I think that 5.
I appreciate
that 5 to 20.
Yeah.
You know, when we talked about it, that 5 to 20 threshold was between a combination of his and other haulers that would be coming in or out.
Yeah.
Okay.
No more than you'd see on the road or going into any of these yards, or, you know, buses going in next door. No more than anything like that. Is, you know.
And then what other equipment are you going to have on site to do the sorting and processing?
So you would have material handlers. They're like an excavator, but it's got like a swinging grapple on it. They have a longer boom. So, you know, excavators, we call them material handlers, forklifts, bobcats, loaders, you know, stuff like that.
Okay.
You know, shears, it's an excavator with a shear on it to reduce the size of the material so it can be properly, you know, processed for shipment.
Looking back at the plan, which we still have up on the video, I note that you have put the bends on the right-hand side, or on the top, which runs next to, I think it's the awning business, and then behind the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
What's the reason that the bins are positioned there?
Well, the land changes, and there's a really big bank, and it just, well, and plus the entrances, I think it just fits that area, creates a really great natural barrier, you know, and I mean, I could build it any way town wanted me to. There's plenty of land there, but I think, you know, just looking at it, and again, if it needed to be changed, I would come to you and say, I think I got a better spot And you know, I'd work that out through local regulations, but, you know, just looking at it and having a preliminary plan, to me, that seemed, with the flow of traffic, you got to think of everything. You got to think of the flow of traffic, you got to think what's good for us as well as the customers, what's good for the neighbors around you, and I think with that natural barrier, there's probably a 50-foot high embankment that's in elevation between the church and the awning place, and I thought that particular spot was at the peak of that barrier, was a real great spot to put that, where, you know, there's no, it's just, I thought it was the best spot to put it, you know.
Okay.
Because of that barrier, that was the main reason, and because of the traffic flow coming in and how the flow would run in and then out with the two gates.
You're so engrossing, sir, I lost what my next question was. How many locations do you have?
We have a maintenance facility in Lowell that does all our maintenance for all the companies. We have a facility in Worcester, a facility in Everett, and a facility in New Hampshire.
So you have 4 facilities total.
Yeah, 4.
How long?
We don't buy any scrap at our maintenance facility. We just fix stuff.
Okay, just for maintenance of your
Things break
vehicles
all
and
the
equipment.
time.
Yeah, everything does. And how long have you been in this business? What's your
So
company's?
I've been in this business my whole life. My family had a business, and you know, I worked there since a little kid. I was with my father. It was way different back then. And my wife and I took over the business and bought it off the family December 6, 1999, in a little small place, and we've built it since then.
So were you in Worcester or Everett?
Everett, actually,
Everett at
right
that
across from the casino. That place isn't there anymore. We're down the street, but directly across. You probably, if any of you drove through there, saw the building. It said Minicello Brothers. It was right on the corner.
And then how long have you been in New Hampshire?
Wow, long time. Close to 20 years, maybe.
And how long have you been in Worcester?
I don't know, 7 years, 5 to 7 years now. I don't know the exact times, but we've been there. Which, you know, we were able to take 2 condemned properties in Worcester and turn them around. Same thing like here, and you know, the city didn't think we could do it, but they love us now. We have a great relationship, you know, with all the community and all our facilities. You know, New Hampshire is actually state permitted. In Massachusetts, scrap yards are only, you know, by city or township.
Do you require any permits from DEP or any other?
No, that
state
would be
regulatory?
solid waste. Scrap metal doesn't require any DEP or state permits. As far as the licensing for scrap metal, now they're going to want to know about stormwater. They're going to want to know a bunch of different things. You know what I mean? We always, whatever we have to comply with, we comply. You know, it's just the easiest, the best way to do it. That way you can focus on running your business rather than running from the police. You know what I mean? So to speak. Just.
Have you had any regulatory action taken against you in
Over the
any of the
years?
facilities?
Oh, yeah, that's how we learned.
Can you
know,
tell me a little bit about that?
Not many, maybe just some stormwater issues, because there really, in the beginning, there really wasn't any, you know, when we first started, there was really no regulation or nothing being enforced on anything. You know, you go to the police station, you get your license, they say, go ahead and buy some scrap, you put some license in, the scale guy comes down, puts the stamp on the scale, come down once a year, and that was it. As you go along, these regulations, you know, change and are enforced or whatever, they come in and then they knock on the door and you say, wait a minute, I don't know anything about this. But whatever infractions that were brought to our attention, we always worked in a positive way with the agencies, you know, whether it be DEP or EPA, to resolve the issues. And they've always been resolved. I got great relationships with all of them, you know, so.
Do you have any outstanding,
Oh, no.
unresolved?
No, if something comes up that they need to be addressed, we do it immediately. We never have anything outstanding.
How long ago was the last one?
Oh, it was years ago. I don't remember exactly, but like I said, it's just stuff coming along the way, and then they change stuff. And you don't know about the changes, and and then you just fix it. It's not anything that intentional that we're out there to say, hey, let's sneak by this one, sneak by that one, and it could be something real little. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, just something little. One way, this is approved. Like at one time, I forgot to renew a permit. I didn't even know it was renewable, and you say, oh, you got to renew the permit, so we renewed it. You know what I mean? So that was a thing.
Happens.
It happens, so stuff like that.
Permit renewals.
Yeah, permit renewals. I had no idea.
Certainly
that it needed it. And they go, oh, no, you need it. Okay. What do I got to do?
So I want to understand what the intention is with the stormwater system, because the city has a long, ongoing stormwater sewer separation project going on, and it's my understanding that it has not taken place yet in that area of the city, that that area is in fact contemplated to be done last, so that the stormwater system, itself is not available to you in that area. And do you have any treatment planned for the on-site disposal?
So in Worcester, it was a similar situation, and all the stormwater was brought into a basin, brought up through a treatment process, and then infiltrated into the ground with galleys. So all of that is contained on-site within the Worcester site.
So tell me what that really means, because I'm going to remind you, if you didn't know, that I am not an engineer. I am an attorney.
Yeah.
And I want to understand, if you keep it on site, does that really mean that it's draining into the water system that's nearby?
If we keep it on site, it's infiltrating into the ground, and it's not. Normally, we wouldn't discharge it directly out. I mean, it could be, and we would test for that. At the Everett site, that gets discharged to their system, and we're testing on that site on a regular monthly, I think, regularly, to meet those requirements. And then on the Worcester site, that is, again, through a treatment process, and then goes infiltrated into the ground.
Okay, so there would be an on-site treatment process, not just a simple discharge directly into the ground without any other...
Right.
Okay. Most of the site is going to be paved?
Yeah, so the plan would be to pave currently we're looking at paving to approximately this line, where this would be the use of that metal scrap separation, and then either the perimeters and a portion of this property would be used for that stormwater mitigation.
Okay.
That's a preliminary drawing as well, so, that could shrink up, or it could go a little further. I don't anticipate it going further, because, you look at that, there's so much more land out there than what you can really see on the paper, and like I said, preliminarily, whatever amount of impervious surface we put out there, I'm a firm believer in as far as the DEP and the EPA, they want to see more pervious surface than impervious. It's just the natural way of things and what they like. But, I'm not going to pave or concrete, because a lot of it would be concrete any more than I have to, The rest, I would like to use for stormwater application.
Now, you said there were, I apologize, I will certainly let you ask some questions after I'm done, sir.
I just saw him with his hand up.
You said that there were piles that were contaminated. What testing has been done, and what's the contaminants on the property currently?
So apparently there was like a number 6 fuel leak on this property at one point. So the previous owner, he was under a DEP, I believe that's a DEP open site, and that soil with the number 6 fuel oil was stockpiled on the existing foundation that sits on the site. So we're aware of that. And then again, we would have to do once he purchases the property, we would do additional sampling for soils as well as groundwater. There's some wells out there. We probably have to do some additional wells and get full LSP to review and go through that information in order to properly file with DEP and EPA on proper cleanup.
Okay. What measures are being taken to mitigate the noise that's going to be generated by this use?
I think, as Frank mentioned, naturally, he's looking to use that natural buffer on the northwesterly side in regards to the property to the northwest, and the property to the northeast is a bus facility, and then the neighbors to the south are buffered by, again, that separation between the operations and the proposed
The undeveloped
stormwater
part in the
mitigation.
back of the lot?
Yeah.
Between the operations and Falula Street?
Right.
Okay. And have you had any measurement done of what are the noise levels generated at your other facilities?
I can answer that. No, I've never been asked that question.
Really? You mean I asked you an original question? There's very few of those in the world.
So I'm sure it's a legitimate question. I've never been asked that question or asked to do any noise. I mean, I know you have other scrap facilities, or had other scrap facilities. I mean, I'm just curious what their noise level would have been.
So we have, to my knowledge, another scrap facility further down the road next to the airport that I think has recently gone out of business. So I don't think it's functioning right now.
Right.
But that is further down towards the airport. And then there is a smaller facility that is also within the city that is a family-run facility.
There's a lot. The people across the street, I'm buying a property off of, they have a scrap license.
They have a license. I don't think they've ever operated.
No, they haven't.
I have never seen them operate.
No,
they certainly operate a lot of heavy machinery across
They do.
the street because they're a road construction.
Yeah, the noise would be probably similar.
There is also the commercial plaza that's recently gone in that has commercial buildings across the street. One of my questions is how you're going to manage the traffic with the community treatment center next door, given that their busy time of day is 6 a.m. as well. We have a lot of people coming in and out of that particular property. And then, again, there is a neighborhood, and sound carries a lot further than dust does. I think it does anyway.
Sound does carry.
I'm going to refer back to the fact that, again, that I am not an engineer. So those are, kind of the questions I have about how the operation is going to run. But the primary question that you need to answer as an applicant is, what is the benefit to the city of allowing this use, and why is it more beneficial than the detriments created by the use? And a lot of the time, I don't really have people look at that question. But given the use that you're describing, I think it's very apt in this situation. What is the benefit to the city of allowing this use, and why does it outweigh the detriments created by the use?
I can give you some brief insight on that, if you like. So,
That'd be great.
Everybody that comes into our facility is going to leave with more money than what they started. And they're going to leave, they're going to go to a gas station, a sub shop, a restaurant, a convenience store, and they're going to spend money in your community. I mean, it's just how it works. They come in, they cash in scrap, and they leave with money. And they go spend it in the community. It also gives people an avenue rather than just throwing stuff in their trash or leaving stuff on the street that could potentially, clutter the streets. It gives them an avenue now that they know they can actually get money for it, and convenience sake for businesses as well as, regular homeowners, citizens, or whatever. It's very valuable. But mostly, people come in, they leave with money, a lot of it, and they go and spend it in the community. And that's, that to me is, not to mention employment for people. And,
Is there any contemplation to give priority to hiring Fitchburg residents?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Most of my people in Everett, they come from Everett. Most of the people in Worcester, they're right there in Worcester, and they, with the exception of a couple of my managers or whatever, but most of them that work there from the Worcester area or the Everett area. New Hampshire, they're all from that area, they're all from very local. So yeah, it just happens naturally that way. But yes, we would definitely look at that. It's better for us.
Okay.
You get somebody from that area, they're more apt to show up for work. You know what I mean? It's just a better situation. When you got somebody driving from way out, it doesn't always work that way. They're always looking for something closer. So it's in, I think, our best interest.
I would just add to that. The other would be obviously the environmental benefit of the cleanup of that property that's been sitting for over a decade now as it stands with contaminated piles and has not been cleaned up. So that would also be a benefit to the community.
That's a huge benefit. We're going to clean up, just like we did in Worcester. We took two horrible condemned pieces of property, made them really nice. And,
okay.
We get a lot of compliments from that.
My final question for right now is, do you have an estimate on the tonnage that's going to be taken in daily or stored at the site?
I do not.
What is the tonnage that's taken in Everett daily, approximately?
I don't have those numbers. I could get them, but it's different every day. You know what I mean? There's days when I get hardly anything. There's other days when I get a lot. You know what I mean? Because we're open to the public. It's not like you have set accounts. We do have accounts, but still, you got to generate the scrap. It's not like, I'm buying widgets over here and I'm buying stuff over there and I know how much is coming in and out. It's really I mean, I can tell you something.
I would be interested in having a range of what it is, at least in your current experience, with the understanding that there's no guarantee of what happens.
Perfect. I can get you a range.
Yeah. All right. I am going to stop my questions at this point because I have taken up a bit of time here. I appreciate the explanations. What I'm going to do is go to see if we have any public comment and then have Mr. Commissioner and the board ask their questions as well. Okay? Thank you. We have a public comment from Community Planning and Development, and I recognize that Mayor Joe Bohort is also here to make an in-person comment. Community Development has met with this contractor, developer, and supports their intention to develop a contractor yard that would recycle materials on site. The site looks appropriate for this use. Contractor should be mindful of keeping business away from abutters on Falula Street. That's the back street. Next comment is from the Planning Department, noting that site plan approval from the Planning Board will be required. We also had a couple of letters from Mayor Squalia. First, a letter of support, and second, a letter with some response to questions. Recognizing that we have some other people here in person from city departments, I'm going to go to them first. Sir, if you could stop sharing your presentation. And then I'm going to have anyone who would like to speak come up to the podium. Thank you for doing that.
Quick question, Madam Chair.
Okay.
It's just, is there any life-size drawings of the site plan that we might be able to?
Thank you.
Yeah, something. Oh, okay, great. Question answered. As we age, things need to get bigger.
Sorry, it's difficult to handle multiple questions at the same time. but you have a plan you can look at?
I
Okay.
have a plan.
Great.
Or they have a plan.
All right. Is there any person here in public who would like to make a comment or ask a question on this matter? Sir, you raised your hand first, so please come to the podium. You can tell me your name and city of residence, and then you're welcome to speak.
David Duval, Flule Street, on the butter to the property being in question. I've got two questions. Can I answer the questions as I?
We can ask the
Will
questions.
the entrances be on both ends, Airport Road and Flule Street?
Go ahead if you don't. Will the entrances and exits be on
Entrances-
Falula Street and Airport Road?
Can I answer the question?
Yes, please.
So,
Put the map back up.
for the matter of the scrap yard, and right from the get-go, I have no plans of using the back entrances. It's just off of Zero Terminal Street, because that's the best way it would function.
There are two
And there are
entrances.
two entrances in the back. I would like to leave those options open to use them for maybe, my private use, you know what I mean, on a lesser amount. I mean, but 99% of the stuff would come through Zero
The
Terminal.
other question. I'm in a butter on the Flule Street side. My house, I got a shed, which abuts a fence that I put up years ago. Previous owner, Fiore, put up a fence. We talked. I was 1 foot off the line. He was 1 foot on his side.
Yeah.
So there's a 2-inch space between the fence going up the hill behind my house. But I also have a shed, and when you get heavy, heavy rain, the water comes right off the road on both sides of my shed, under the fence, and onto that property.
Under my property.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just concerned if you're going to put up something solid where the water's going to not be able to go into.
And you're on the back side, that big apartment building?
Yeah,
like?
that's what
Yeah, I have no interest in putting anything right there.
Because I'm concerned if
You
you
know
put a
what I mean?
stone wall or something there, the water's going to just back up, and I'm going to,
No,
my
if-
fence going to get flooded.
Listen, I can tell you all day long, I'm a great guy, and that would never happen, you know what I mean?
Well, we can discuss it
You'd have
at some point.
You'd have to take my word for it, but I am a good guy, and I would definitely, I'm friends with all my neighbors and all my facilities, and I always take them into consideration.
Yeah, I'm sure they will
Without good
follow
neighbors,
through with their job.
you have problems, so it's in my best interest to work with you,
Right.
but no, I would have no problem working with you in that sense. And I don't even plan on using the back half of the property right away, you know what I mean? I might never use it, I don't know, I might do
But keep in
something.
mind, we got a problem, we got an issue there. And so-
Yeah, but I don't care if water comes into my property, I don't care, it doesn't.
So I was concerned if you're going to put a stone wall or a concrete wall up, and
Yeah, no, I
the
would,
water will just back up in my driveway right into my basement apartment.
I could give you my word on that, if I buy the property, that's one of the things that, like, I got till the end of the month to give a yay or a nay, you said you guys aren't gonna vote on this, so I'm not gonna.
And I just want to be very clear.
Yeah, I
think
don't,
it
I'm out of
takes more
time. Like, at this
consideration than
point,
one meeting.
it's almost,
So, sir, I just want to go back to make sure the board has heard your comment, and I appreciate your making an answer.
Now, those are
The
my
comment was
two
a
comments right now,
concern.
the entranceway on both ends, and the water drains through my driveway onto that property.
Okay, so the water drains through your driveway
Down to-
onto the
down to
property.
Little Street. Back, boy, a long time ago, Herman Burke was around and Jody Joseph. They were able to get a sidewalk built in front of my house, and they also got a storm drain on the middle of my driveway along the street, and that alleviated a lot of water coming down through my driveway. Now, big, heavy storms still getting flooded with water through my driveway, but it goes to the fence side where the fence is.
And it comes on
Sometimes under my shed, and scares any animals that are under there abiding, and it goes through the other side. I got 2 instances of water along that fence, one on each side of my shed. And you can, if you come by, you see the ditch at the fence where the water goes through. So
he don't want me altering my property, so it floods his property.
So the drainage continues as it
I
is.
just wouldn't do it,
Yeah.
that's.
So those are my two concerns at this point.
Okay.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, sir. We appreciate your attending the meeting and asking the questions. Is there any other person present who would like to make a comment, ask a question, or state a concern? Go ahead, Ms. Bohart. Welcome to the meeting. Although we all know you, if you could state your name and business residence.
Sure.
Mary Jo Bohart, Economic Development Director within the city's Community Development Department.
Thank you.
And I wanted to make a general comment, and then, if possible, I had a very minor curiosity question that I can also ask through the chair, if that's appropriate. I just wanted to described from an economic development standpoint, it's encouraging to see an industrially zoned site with an industrial user seeking to use it after it lays fallow for quite a number of years. Also, when the city went through the zoning overhaul 2 to 3 years ago, we wanted to make sure that there were still places in the city where we could have industrial uses. We didn't want for that to be something that people who want to locate here, that we didn't have a spot. So this is a larger industrial site in some ways. I mean, maybe it's not as big as some of ours, but the fact that it's, at this point, land, it has no buildings on it anymore. And so when the applicants came and connected with the city for early discussions about this use, they had already found this no surprise because it's unusual. There are not that many properties that are industrially zoned of this size. So anyway, it was nice that they were proactive. They've met with the city a couple of times, once informally and then once with the Economic Development Task Force, kind of getting a sense of what they had in mind and so on. And it's nice that they are experienced operators having a few other locations. My question, and it was more curiosity, just because I don't know that much about the industry, and I'll ask it maybe through you, Madam Chair, is the applicant was saying that some of the folks that will come might be haulers, bigger supplier, metal haulers, but even the little guy, it sounds like, could use the facility. And I wondered, just so that I better understand the industry, how do facilities like the one being proposed, how do they discern when it's a smaller individual bringing a smaller amount of metal, that is there like a chain of custody to make sure that it's maybe coming from an honest source rather than being taken? Is that something that ever comes up in the industry? And it's just more my own curiosity because I don't understand, I don't know much about it. And I wondered, is that something I'm sure has already been figured out how best to handle it, but that was my question.
Thank you, ma'am.
Can I answer?
If you'd
Okay,
like.
so everything that comes in our facility is documented, and, we take a driver's license and we document every single sale. Now, I can't sit there and ask every single person, is this stuff stolen? I'm not, I'd have a license to buy scrap metal, but we do work with local authorities and organizations. If they call and say, this got stolen, look out for it, we absolutely are proactive in looking and documenting and getting the licenses of people. But everything is documented. And, that does go on. And the old adage in the scrap business, oh, everything's stolen. It's not. It's real people, it's very far and few between where people actually go out and steal stuff. Those days are gone. Back in the day, it happened all the time, every once in a while. And usually you get a phone call, we're looking for this guy, have you seen him? Do you have the stuff? Yep, I saw him, he's here, this is who it is, here's his information. And we work with Worcester, they love us over there in Worcester, because Worcester's all the time, there's situations where people driving down the road fast, there's an accident, we have our cameras that, I know I'm getting off track, but the point is, yes, we work with local law enforcement, and we do document every sale. So 99% of the time, and far and few between the incidences that something is stolen, it's either recovered or we assist in the apprehension of that person. It's just...
Ms. Bohart, while you're here, I have a question for you.
Yes.
So you've been speaking to this applicant for a number of months before the application was submitted for this hearing. And I certainly wanted to let you know that I think the boards that deal with these applications appreciate being let in on those conversations in the future. But also, I am wondering whether there were any other sites examined within the city, because there are other industrial parcels in the city that are not quite as close to this mix of different residential, commercial, neighborhood business uses. Were there any other parcels examined?
Well, by the time we first met the applicants, this parcel was the parcel that they had set their intent on. And so typically, particularly in my role, there are times when I might help an interested business, a site search, if you will, but this particular applicant had found a site that was appropriate in size and appropriate in zoning. And so it wasn't an exercise to go find a site for them. They had found a site that caught their eye.
Okay. And there was just the normal outreach to community in what we do with the butters on any kind of application, right?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Commissioner, you are so anxious. I'm going to let you go ahead.
No, I just wanted to weigh in on that because just to jog Ms. Bohard's memory. I'm not going with my other questions. But there was a previous site, I believe, next to the airport that we did meet with Mr. Vinciello about.
That's correct.
And it was determined that that site wouldn't work for a number of reasons. And then he came back a few months later with this site. And I believe there were some in between that he was looking at, but the ones we formally met with him about were a site right by the airport. I forget the exact address of it. And then this site.
It was the old AKS maintenance building, and a great spot, by the way. It was just small. Like, it wasn't, it was, we were looking for something larger. And, I still, up until recently, had an opportunity for that site. I don't know if it would have been better for you guys, but for us, and kind of what we were looking to do and grow, you know what I mean? It was a small site. You got 10 acres over here, and they wanted to subdivide it up into like an acre and a half, 2 acres, and it was like, it didn't really fit us, so we kind of declined and went with this one. I mean, I could revisit it, but it really wasn't what we were looking for long term, This site, again, I can lay dumpsters there. There's a lot more I can do with the space, and it just makes more sense for everybody, the city as well as us, rather than try to crowd everything into one small spot.
Unless you have anything else to add, thank you.
Just noting that, and it was already in the narrative, I didn't want to repeat, but the jobs creation is always something, a site that's been long fallow or sitting idle, and we're thinking of growing our economy, growing employment in our region, and also just the service that this provides, which is something that's needed in Fitchburg, but also needed in the region. So for those reasons, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other person present who would like to speak? Go ahead, sir. Welcome, Councilor Cruz. Thank you for
Madam
coming.
Chair, board members. For the applicant, I'm Derek Cruz, Fitchburg City Councilor, Ward 6, so we're at the Airport Road, where this property would take place. I'm certainly not anti-recycling or anti-business, and everyone deserves to make a living for themselves and their family, and I hope this gentleman gets to do so. My concern, and I might be mistaken, if the recycling process takes place on site and the release of airborne contaminants like sulfur dioxide that create a pretty gnarly smell in the area. As you all know, Ward 3 has a business that has been a thorn in the side of many residents there. It creates a quality of life issue. Well, it stinks, right? It just stinks over there. And that's the last thing I want for residents in my ward. And so I respectfully encourage the board to do what it always does, and its diligence in making sure that the criteria for the special permit contains measures to prevent this and to ensure the quality of life for this area, Ward 6 and its residents, is maintained. Will there be a good deal of processing on site that releases the sulfur dioxide?
No, actually, there's a lot of processing, but where it's scrap metal, so you're going to get a lot of that with solid waste, C&D materials, the wood, the gypsum board, and stuff like that, and whatever, C&D processing, you're going to get those smells with regular trash. This is strictly metal, so I have yet to have any smells. I mean, there's noise. I mean, we've already addressed that. There's going to be some sense of noise. I've never had a complaint about noise ever in any of my facilities. I think it's just part of it, you know. It's not any more than, you know, big trucks going by and making noise and construction equipment, you know. But as far as smells, I haven't yet to, it doesn't release any smell. It's scrap metal. We don't take any trash. When you start getting into trash and C&D, it smells, it stinks. And, you know, that was like what AKS was doing down on Airport Road. You know what I mean? And it's just part of it. We don't do that end of it. We're not into the C&D, which is wood recycling, you know, buildings being taken down. It's just strictly scrap metal. So no, we don't have those smells.
Okay.
I have never experienced them. I've been in the business since I was a little kid on our facility. So.
Thank you, sir. Then
You're welcome.
I think the applicant will be okay with some of those criteria being put into the special permit. I would certainly feel more comfortable about this proposal. But it does sound like the gentleman is on a timeline of about a month, and we want to be pro-business here in the city of Fitchburg, and I know you do too. So I would also respectfully encourage, if you're satisfied with the answers you received tonight, to consider expedited approval of the process, as we want business here in our city. I certainly want it in Ward 6, which is one of the most economically important areas of the city. We build a lot of revenue in Ward 6, and I'd like to see that continue. I encourage the body to do, Madam Chair, what I think it always has done a great job of, which is protecting the residents of the city while also bringing in business. So thank you very much. I yield the floor.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time. I want a little bit of feedback from the applicant. You know, this is what you've put out as kind of the activity on the property. So is
Oh, I can tell you exactly what that is.
yeah. No,
So-
your Instagram
so
account, is
that's,
this representative of what's going to go on?
Yeah, I'm really glad you put that out there. So that's a shear that goes on the end of an excavator. So for the town of Somerville and the town of Malden, we occasionally will take an old piece of equipment, and we don't take vehicles, but if we do something like this was a proof of destruction project. So what had to happen for insurance reasons or whatever they were doing in the town, they needed that to be destroyed. So we told them we'd do it for nothing if we could keep the metal, but they had to evacuate any fluids, any brake fluids, any oil, any fuel, anything like that. They came down and we had to film it. We threw it up on our social media because it's something we do offer as a courtesy for the towns and cities where they would normally have to pay. And we do work with quite a few municipalities in that way and in other ways. We have the state contract and they use us. But that's a truck being loaded with light iron or, no, that's copper actually.
You know, and I don't know
I can't see that far. Brian, can you see, is that copper?
It is.
That's light iron. So that's a pile of light iron that we're just loading in a truck and heading out to a shredder or wherever it's going to go. Most likely, if it's light iron, it's going to a shredder.
Yep.
And for further processing
But that's representative of the noise that is generated.
Yeah, that
from your
happens
site.
every day. It's like scooping dirt and putting dirt in a truck. The same thing, only metal. But that's the type of machine I was talking about. That's called a material handler. An excavator, you'll see a bucket. That's a material handler. Yeah, that's us. That's my truck.
All right. And
That's what you'll see.
what's the size of your site in each place in Everett?
What's the what?
Size of your site. How many?
Oh, so they're all different. In Worcester, I got almost almost 2 acres, maybe an acre and a half on one side of the street where I do all steel like this, and then on the other side of the street, I got almost an acre where we take the non-ferrous, so to speak. That's stuff people bring in: copper, brass, aluminum. We put in carts. We weigh it on smaller scales. New Hampshire, I got 7 acres. We probably use 3.5, 4 acres, if that. In Everett, it's a little over 2 acre site. They're not very big sites. That's why we're really trying to get into a bigger site, give us some room, and as we grow, maybe put some trucks and dumpsters there. And, we currently have the maintenance department in Lowell, which we rent, actually, really nice people, paying S's. And they have probably 3.5 acres, and we probably use, I don't know, 1.5 acres, 2 acres, maybe 1.5 acres.
I'm going to go back to finishing my public comment period.
Sure.
Is there any other member of the public who wanted to make a comment or ask a question here today? Mr. Commissioner, I had cut you off earlier, and you are welcome to make a comment at this time.
Madam Chair, thank you. No, you hadn't cut me off. I just wanted to make sure to jog Ms. Bohard's memory on that so that the board was getting an accurate response about other sites that were looked at. Mr. Minichiello just mentioned that, I guess, long-term he may be considering bringing in the maintenance to this site. Just as a disclosure to Mr. Minichiello, I believe that he's going to need to update his special permit in order to do the motor vehicle repairs. I have to look at the table of use regulations just to confirm that, but I believe that would require you to come back before this board as well as another site plan approval from the
We wouldn't be
planning
doing, other people's. It's just our own
It
stuff.
doesn't, the regulation doesn't differentiate.
All right.
So-
I didn't know it was a whole other process, but if we had to go through it, I'm sure it would be.
But that's just to think forward into the future. I'm sure you've got long-term lease over there.
Yeah, I just thought we had 10 acres. I could do it all there, a lot of stuff and employ, a lot of people and be able to consolidate it, and it would just work well for us, having the maintenance and being able to supplement the income with some scrap on that property.
And I just wanted to also state my appreciation for Mr. Minichiello and his team to reach out to the city and proactively sit with us to discuss this. Weren't the planning board chair or vice chair with us at one of the meetings as well? Or am I confusing it with a different site?
Might have been, I don't recall, but everybody's been very nice, all you guys, and at those meetings, everybody's been very nice. And
No.
I thought
No.
it might have been a different site.
I don't remember being there. I really don't, but.
Because I don't remember which one, if this
Either
was
the
the
planning
EDTF or
board
not.
chair or the vice chair normally does sit at the community meetings, and it's very helpful to applicants to have that feedback from the boards directly. But no.
Sorry to ask this to Mary Jo through the chair, but did this one go through EDTF or no? I thought it did, but I might be wrong.
I may have misspoke when I referenced the Economic Development Task Force as the type of convening, and I think what we did was actually a few key city departments. I can't recall, forgive me, I might be wrong on that, but I know our building commissioner and also our health director and our DPW commissioner are, I think, a part of the discussion that we had with you. Maybe I'm mistaken. And then, of course, community development.
Yeah, but that's not on the applicant at all. So the applicant doesn't choose who's going to be at the meeting.
No, I understand. Yeah. I was only gesturing toward him because he might have recalled if any other parties were at that meeting. But it may not have been our traditional economic development task force. It might have been that we thought at that early stage the feedback from some departments might have been helpful.
I just don't recall I don't think it was a full EDTF, but I know Steve Curry was there, the mayor, Mary Jo, Liz Murphy, Chantel Herlin, I believe, was there. I just don't remember if the chair of the planning board was there or not, because there are some of these meetings that she does come to, and I just don't remember if she was at this meeting or not.
It was intended.
But this does have to go for site plan approval from the planning board as well. They don't need a planning board special permit, but they definitely need a site plan review from the planning board.
I'm going to move on to the board members.
Sure.
Thank you. Mr. Byrne, do you have a question or a comment that you'd like to make?
I've been on this board for nigh on 1 or 2 years anyway. And I have done a lot of what we called contractors' yards. Contractors' yards, in my opinion, and from what we have done in the past, have been places where contractors come and they store their vehicles, their materials, and that's it. This is not a contractor's yard. I don't know whether for expedience they just picked that as a principal use, or is that the case, Mr. Building Commissioner?
I believe, I don't remember if it was contractor's yard that we chose or open air storage. I have to look at the
Because
zoning determination.
in other words, no matter what you look at it, in my generation, we call it a junkyard. You know, and we've had this before us before. Walter Fiore came before us and wanted to bring a junkyard into Falula Street. In fact, it was very similar to the area where you were looking to place your junkyard. And he was turned down at the time because this is it's one of the entrances to the city, and that was the reason at the time. Maybe the landscape has changed now, and the city of Fitchburg wants a junkyard on the way in. I'm not sure, but I think that we would have had a lot bigger, shall we say, field of people when, if it was advertised correctly and not as a contractor's yard, which we had last month on St. Bernard Street, but as a junkyard or a recycling facility or whatever the political correct word is for it. But to me, it's still a junkyard. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Byrne. Mr. Talbot, do you have any questions or comments?
I would just say that if anybody has ever tried to take anything to the local landfill, this would be a great improvement to the city.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gallagher, any questions or comments?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. So we're talking about 10 acres of land, correct? I noticed when I was out there viewing the site today, there was a lot of mixed debris that looks to be spread over the acreage. Does your cleanup plan, is it planned to clean the entire lot?
Yes, we would have to look at the entire lot.
Okay. And what would your time frame be for that?
As previously stated, it would probably be within that first year, again, going back and forth with DP and EPA. We'd have to get approval, and it might be a couple of years before they finally close the site. I mean, we'd have to do some sampling and testing and mitigation and figuring out exactly what's there and how it needs to be handled properly.
Yeah, a year may be optimistic until you get into it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
It's going to take more than a year.
You're hoping for a year?
Well, best case scenario, but it's going to take some time.
Right.
You know, there's a lot involved when you're doing a cleanup. You know, it's got to be done right. Then you got weather conditions. I got the winter to deal with. You know what I mean? I got to close on the property, which it might be tough because my agreement's up the end of the month. So I don't know.
Sure.
You know, we're sitting here, and it is what it is. I guess I don't know. We did everything that was asked for us to be able to get to this point, and I thought maybe we'd get a favorable decision. Which, you know, listen, you got your guidelines and rules too, but. You know, I signed an agreement and put a bunch of money into this, and my agreement's up the end of the month. So.
Yeah. I certainly understand.
Just going to say, I don't know whether this board is going to vote in favor or against it, or whether it's going to vote in favor but conditions. And I would almost certainly say if it votes in favor, there's going to be conditions.
No, I get it.
Final question.
I just want to say that it's not reasonable to come to the board in the middle of January and expect that the board is going to issue its decision on a project this big immediately.
No, I didn't. I just didn't understand.
And even if the decision is approval, that's the case.
No,
Mr. Gallagher, please go ahead. So I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yeah. In terms of crushing, I'm assuming you'll be taking refrigerators, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, those are all evacuated to the Freon.
So you'll be crushing them?
We comply with every state, and that's EPA right there, you know, the Freon. We have a company that comes in and does it. It's all documented.
So will you be crushing them on site, or?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They all get, they get crushed on. They come in. Some of them come in, they're already evacuated, and the ones
Okay.
that aren't, we put aside, and we have a company that comes in and evacuates them. It's
Okay, good. Fair enough. Thank you, sir.
All right. All set, Mr. Gallagher?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. McLaughlin, any comments or questions?
Yeah, where do we start? The proposed plan that's been submitted, you have these bays along, I'm going to call it the church side, right? How big are those bays?
They vary in size depending on the material we're going to be putting in there. Some material generates more than the other. You know what I mean? So, I mean, on the picture, those are kind of enormous. It'd probably be scaled down some.
But I mean, are they 20 by 20? Are they
Yeah, they could
50
be.
by
They could
50?
be 20 by 20. They could be 30 by 20. 25 by 20. Very seldom do you get one that's any bigger than that. But that's probably.
And these are
10, 12, 15.
I'll call these, you're going to have different types of scrap metal piled in each of these.
That's correct.
Sorting bays.
Does the scrap, does everything sit on the dirt?
I concrete it all. If you put in dirt, it's too messy. It contaminates the materials. So anywhere we're in process, and I do concrete. Any driving areas, I do asphalt.
Okay.
We do concrete, thick, 1 foot, 16 inches.
And do they have drainage system on them, or when it rains, does everything just wash off the concrete?
No, it washes out into the yard and goes through the proper, filtration program we have, or to an impervious surface.
Yeah, just a question. I know that this is the site of the old Falula paper mills.
Yeah.
How do we know that that property doesn't, I'll say, glow? I mean,
That's what the environment.
So
has any of that been done, or is this just a buyer?
That's part of the cleanup, and that's part of the testing that we've currently done. I spent a bunch of money getting the testing done to get us to this point to see if it was even feasible for us.
So there was some previous testing and well points put in place and tested on the original site, and again we would do additional site testing and requirements with DEP and EPA in order to figure out what else is going on, if anything, around the site. But there are some additional piles. There's the main pile, there's some smaller piles. We anticipate probably likely from some of the demolition work that went on with the buildings. And that has to all be tested and dealt with as part of this initial site cleanup.
Is the original foundation that the old structure was on, is that going to be removed?
It's not there. There's only one small foundation. It's a building that was close to the fence, which we were going to take out to accommodate.
Okay, so
it's
all been removed?
There is a portion of the foundation where some of that contaminated soil sits on top of currently.
I didn't see it. They checked it out more than I did. I didn't see it.
Oh.
But there's one that one. It might be there. I mean, I walked the property as much as I could.
Yeah, I think
but
there might be a little portion still there, but that would
last guy tore everything out of it. He leveled it.
But the majority of the buildings are definitely removed, as far as we know, unless they buried them. But I would imagine that those were removed as part of that demolition as well.
Okay. And project timeline, you said, is a couple of years?
I mean, in order to do all the planning and paperwork and testing for the remediation, and then the design and the submittals for the stormwater permit and planning board and so forth, probably at least minimum a couple of years.
Okay. Are you purchasing the whole parcel from Falula to Airport?
Yeah, the whole 10 acres.
Okay. And then it looks like there's a certain area in the rear that's not being used, it's not part of this project, or is it for future expansion?
Yeah, so what I was hoping to do is I was hoping to get approved for, a scrap metal license there. When I originally went to the city, I guess after discussions, it was thought that the contractor yard was the best way to go and get a scrap license under that provision. It's not, I get it. But yeah, we wanted to come in and get the license for the scrap yard and then have further discussions on, maybe putting up a building for the maintenance that we do and get it out of the place in Lowell within the next 3 years. But it seems like it goes way beyond just talking to you guys and saying, hey, can I go get the permits for this? It seems like it's a bigger project than what it is. And I understand it, I get it.
It's a big project.
Yeah, it doesn't, I've never really run into this. I've always, went to the city, they say, yeah, okay, yeah, no problem. You want to build something, go by the codes, do what you got to do, make sure everything's in compliance. Go to the police station, get your license. I've never really run into this sort of application. I appreciate it. I think it's wonderful what you're doing, you guys are doing. I just never run into this type of, resistance, I guess. So if that's what you want to call it, or, thoroughness.
It's thoroughness and
No, it is
understanding.
thoroughness, but you still have state and federal, they're there for a reason. You have to comply with them. You know what I mean? And that's, if you don't, then you don't operate. You know what I mean? It's we do. We comply with like I said, I'm on a time crunch.
And I would say that still a portion of that land would be used for the stormwater detention as well as an infiltration.
Okay. Thank you. Good at this time.
So I have a letter from Walter Fiore as part of the other written comments that have been submitted. And he states that he is the principal of Cass Industrial, Inc., that is the current owner of the parcel. And he gives some history. I hesitate to read the entire letter because it's going to take us a while and it's 9:15. But he's stating that, among other things, that he had retained Stone Engineering to complete the 21E cleanup on the parcel, and that the hazardous waste is anticipated to be completed by the end of the year. He talks about the site's appropriateness for the particular use, given its industrial history and space for ample parking and loading areas, as well as all necessary utilities and dimensional requirements. On the impact, he refers to the history of the paper mill having been closed for 30 years. He states the character of the neighborhood is that it is bounded by other industrial sites and uses along the easterly boundary and multifamily and other residentials on the westerly, including Sheridan Street. And that what is proposed would be superior to what existed previously. That it would employ local people, create a vibrant business, and increase the valuation of the property for the city's tax base. And that, in general, is the content of the letter, that it is available for any person who would like to read it in full.
Is that a recent letter?
I think it was
many years ago.
submitted in December 30th. On the 13th today? December 30th.
Oh.
And then we did receive a letter of support from Mayor Squalia, and then I had asked some questions, and there is a response letter as well. Mayor Squalia, do you want to speak to the board regarding the petition at all? And if not, I'll just read from the letter.
Just to say that, we've been working with them for a few months now and, fully in support of this project. But my letter kind of outlines all the reasons, and it's got a lot more information than I've got up off the top of my head.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So to refer to the letter, Mayor Squalia kindly went through the special permit criteria and addressed it. And I'm always very happy to see applicants or other people address the actual special permit criteria that we have to judge a project under. And every board member has received a copy of that letter, and it's available from the building department if anybody wishes to see it. I had asked several questions, and I wanted to go through the questions and responses so that the board members and the public have those as well. I had asked whether there was any contemplation of entering into a host agreement with the applicant, whether there was any willingness to make off-site improvements, and whether there was any airborne particulate matter that was created by the use. From Steve Curry, who is our director of the health department, refers to the fact that a general permit for a recycling operation will likely be required from DEP, and the restrictions on contaminants that are contained within those regulations. He notes that as far as dust generation, scrap metal facilities often use dust suppression systems like misting cannons, which spray a fine mist to capture dust particles and settle them to the ground. He notes that because he needs to see the actual project in operation, but if it is exempt from site assignment by DEP, then there would not be a negotiation of a host agreement under that provision, and unless there was another city department who wanted to negotiate a host agreement. And Liz Murphy indicated that was not contemplated at this time. The next question was, has the city calculated the monetary benefits of the proposed use to the city, including increased property taxes? Is there a proposal to grant employment preference to Fitchburg residents, for instance? Chris Paquette, our assessor, indicated that the increase upon improvements was likely about $850,000, which would net an additional $11,500 per year in new property taxes for the property. I had asked whether there had been any review of the environmental impact, including connection to stormwater system, treatment of runoff, timing of construction versus the sewer separation project. Ryan Colleen, our assistant city engineer, responded that he had looked briefly at the project. Due to the size of the proposed facility, whereas greater than 20,000 square feet would be disturbed, the engineering division would require a stormwater management permit. And he noted that there is no drainage infrastructure available to connect into Airport Road. There's no plan within the next 5 years for the city to install drainage. Therefore, all stormwater shall be designed to infiltrate on-site. A drainage analysis should be prepared in order to determine feasibility. Shop floor drains must connect to the sanitary sewer service through an approved oil and water separator. And then the admin building would be subject to a sewer connection permit and sewer connection fees with commercial rates. And then a utility site plan will need to be prepared and a curb cut permit. The next question was whether there had been any outreach effort made to the owners of the commercial businesses and other homes surrounding the parcel, and whether there was any response, and the indication was that just the normal notification of abutters that is required as part of the process had taken place. And the series of questions was issued by me today. And I appreciate the work that it took for the city departments and the mayor's office to issue a written response to me before the meeting today. And again, those two letters, the support letter and the response letter, are available because they are public documents upon request from the building department, and there are some copies up front there if anybody wants to take a paper copy. So I am going to start to talk about continuing the matter. I would like to pay a site visit to the property so I can take a look and understand there. I am also interested in seeing your other operations, which I will do on my own time prior to the meeting, so I can have a good understanding of what it's like to have a facility operating in the community. And I just want to let you in on the AKS site. To me, is different because it's of its isolation. It's a little different from what is, the location here. And if I were to try to briefly explain that by sharing my screen. This is the zoning map for the area, and this green parcel is yours right there. That's the adaptive industrial district. And, regions of the city grow in strange ways, and this one definitively has. The city had a very vibrant manufacturing community for a long time that has grown along Industrial Road and then has somewhat died out, and then, it's being revived, but there are other things that have grown up in the meantime. So whereas this originally was probably all industrial, now I have your parcel being adaptive industrial with, for some reason, half of the church parcel being industrial and then half being residential C. I have this red commercial strip over across the street, and that is the new strip mall. I have another commercial strip right here, and then we have the neighborhood business district right here with a mix of retail businesses in the front and residences in the back. So it's kind of a mixed neighborhood, and that's why I really want to understand what the impact is on the surrounding property and mitigate it if at all possible. So that's, I would like to gather a little more information in that way. The board's normal procedure for doing a site visit is not a noticed visit, but scheduling with a non-quorum of the board members prior to the next meeting. And that scheduling is done through the building secretary. I'm also going to make a comment that the proposal was for just to replace the vinyl strips in the fencing, and if I thought that I would be voting in favor of that, I would be looking for a different improvement. I disagree with you. I think the fence is in poor repair. The road construction business across the street has a solid fencing that they use at the front of their property. That in one board member's opinion is probably more appropriate for use at this property, at least on the airport road side, where we have that visible corridor entering into the city. Is there any other requests that a board member would like for information or anything else from the applicant?
Yeah, I think they were shown as roughly 40 by 50 on that plan, but again, they
get a scope of, the structures that are going there.
I have a
we have some examples.
Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. You said AKS site would be different. In what way? What would that?
The AKS on one side has the actual airport and I think landing, the runway. And I don't think there's any possibility that you could create any noise that would disturb them. And the other surrounding parcels are also industrial businesses. You have the bus station definitely on one side, but then you have the church and you have some neighborhoods on the other side. And that's why I asked the question about why the bins were located right there, because they seem to be right next to. And that's why I was curious about the noise generated and whether that was the best way to mitigate the noise or if there was another way.
So what kind of conversation would we be having if I made a deal with AKS over, it's actually not AKS, it's Wind Waste. But if I said, okay, I'll take your 3.5 acre parcel or whatever it is, or maybe talk to them or whatever, what kind of conversation would we be having? Would it be a much easier process, or are we going to go through the same thing?
So you always have to go through the special permit process, right?
That might be an option for me.
Yeah.
Not the option I want, but it just, I don't know, I don't really see this being a favorable situation, to be honest with you.
I think board members, you know, really, we're seeing this now, so we're not be able to come to a decision without kind of doing some investigation and thinking about what you've told us about the use. So, and before we take a vote, I don't think we ever want to tell you, you know, what we're going to vote, because I may change my mind.
I get it. And so, those were conditions, you know, I have to make a decision myself. Do I want to?
Yeah. No.
You know, is this something long term I want to get involved in with you know, with everything we got to go through? I'm saying, okay, what's a better? So I guess what I'm asking is you're pointing to that as maybe a better application for what we're doing for various reasons, and you have your reasons. I respect it. I understand it.
Yeah.
Just reading between the lines here. So do I sacrifice maybe some acreage for a better situation? And what do I have to go through in that situation? You know what I mean? What would it be? Would I be tasked with like a million different things? Or
so you'd have a special permit.
Police station or somewhere in between.
No. You'd have a special permit process, just like you do here. You know, I can only tell you that at first blush of what you're presenting to me, in my knowledge of the AKS site, I think there are less disturbances to the neighbor there.
100%.
You know,
I get it. 100%.
So my first reaction is that I probably favor the AKS site over this one. But I am also telling you that I don't want to make a decision without enough information to do so, because I want you have, you know, I want to give you as the applicant a full chance to present your case. I want to consider what's best for the city and the residents. My first reaction upon reviewing your application was, oh, how wonderful. We're having a redevelopment of the site and projected employment. It's the situation with the other issues that I want to be concerned about and make sure that we address appropriately, because once you come there, you're there.
No, I get it.
You're there.
That's why I'm asking these questions, and you know, everybody has to be real about the situation. I get it. There's no, you know, oh man, on this, oh man, I want to figure out what my next move is. Maybe I do contact them. I back out of this deal. I don't know. It doesn't seem like and again, you're explaining some of the. I have my vision of things, you guys have yours, and now when it's coming together, I say, okay, well, maybe they got some points here, whatever, you know what I mean? And do we want to live with those points or try to dance around them? Is it even feasible to do so? Where, you know, maybe the AKS side, I just, you know, I go after a different side of things. Maybe that's the way to go. I don't know. I don't even know if it's still available for me.
Frank, I guess one of the questions I'd like to ask is, would it be possible to get any type of preliminary approval that would ensure that, like, there's nothing that you see other than maybe relocating bins to a different portion of the property or complying with some other things to meet concerns? If we could get pre-approval so that he could move forward with purchasing the property, that would be something that would be helpful tonight.
I very much appreciate that you have an impending closing scheduled for the end of January, and obviously that would suit the applicant, and I understand why. But I would not myself be in favor of taking a vote on it tonight. Is there any other board member who would be inclined to do so?
I would.
You would? Okay. Thank you for telling me. I appreciate that. I don't think you have, and nor do I want to take a quick vote with a negative result.
Right.
Right.
Fair enough.
And I just want to add that, you know, this is historically an industrial site. It was the site of a paper mill. Paper mills are notorious for having, a lot of odors, as the counselor mentioned, as far as their operations go. And if anything, this is an improvement upon that type of nuisance to any surrounding residents. He does have sites that have neighboring residents that also that he operates adjacent to. So whereas this site, 3 sides of it is industrial, so add to that as well.
Thank you. And again, I appreciate your coming to the meeting and offering your expertise on behalf of the applicant. We always like to see it. So I am going to, what's our schedule look like for February? How many matters? Okay. Okay. So I think we have enough room on this February schedule to continue to that. If you're prepared to allow the site visit to occur within that time. And like I said, on my own condition, I'm probably going to visit the other sites run by the applicant so I can have a good understanding what it's like to have the operations run.
And what's the date? What's the date in February for that meeting?
Second Tuesday is February 11.
February 11th. Right.
Okay. So we would need the applicant to sign the continuance agreement to the next date. Which just extends all deadlines. Okay.
Once you make that site visit, will there be, I guess, maybe some discussion of what you saw and if anything else that you'd like to see prior to that meeting so that we can prepare for that?
I certainly don't mind giving feedback directly during the site visit. We, of course, have a limitation on our communications under the open meeting law.
Understood.
So I think that's the way that any communication would have to happen directly from board member to applicant. But I have no problem giving feedback, and I'm sure the other board members would be happy to as well. Okay. All right. So I'd be looking for a motion on a continuance to February 11th, 2025.
Make that motion as ZBA 2024-38. The applicant Brian Leivold for the property at 0 Airport Road for the continuance to February 14th, 2025.
February 11th.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to note that Mr. Byrne is absent, but we do have a 4-person quorum to carry the motion. So thank you very much for coming and enduring all of our questions. And we'll see you on the site visit and then in February. And if I could just have you sign the continuance agreement, sir.
I go to.
It continues and extends the deadlines to the next hearing.
I pull out of the whole thing. It just goes away. Call you.
If you want to withdraw, you submit a letter, and then we do
Listen, you brought up a lot of information today, and I have to consider all that, you know what I mean? Maybe it isn't the right application, maybe it is, maybe I want to take it further, but I have to really take a good look.
Oh, I understand.
But for you guys as well as us, I mean, you got a whole town and city involved here, and then you got us involved in what we do, so.
Yeah.
Not the issue. Everybody has to digest.
Everybody has to digest,
Oh,
yes.
absolutely, I get it. I don't think this was a bad thing. What do you want me to sign, anyway?
Oh, well, it says number 1. You can be 1. I will not make you be number 2.
Well, thank you, guys. I really appreciate all your efforts and everything. I learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. At this time, I am going to recall, as soon as I can find my agenda, Mercedes.
Right here.
Mercedes is my savior. I am going to recall ZBA 24-37 Elizabeth Sedano Brisbois, 0 Amiott Street. This is continued from earlier today. And Mrs. Brisbois, thank you for staying. And Attorney Angstel, you are not muted, so you are welcome to speak as well back to the meeting. There's a question that we had asked, which is whether you wanted to request leave to withdraw without prejudice before the board took a vote on the matter. And I hope you've had a chance to talk with each other and let me know what you decide on that matter.
We would like to withdraw.
Okay. I am going to, we've had a request for leave to withdraw without prejudice. Could I have a motion to approve that request?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion?
I just have a question on that was just a simple withdrawal.
It was.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
And that was to whether or not we would,
Whether or not we were inclined to continue to a next meeting.
thank you.
You're welcome. All right. If there's no other discussion on the motion, all those in favor of granting leave to withdraw without prejudice, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Leave to withdraw without prejudice is granted. This means that you are not subject to any time ban. And like was discussed earlier, if you did want to submit an appeal of the building commissioner's decision, there's an avenue for you to do that and pursue the argument that way. I hope you have an excellent evening.
Thank you.
Mr. Commissioner wants to make a comment before you go.
Just more question, Madam Chair, just because they've invested so much time and the board's invested so much time. Would the board be willing to consider, if they do decide to file an appeal, and again, I'm asking on her behalf, I'm not getting, because I can't participate in the deliberations. My question is, would the board be interested in doing what they've done previously with other cases in this situation of waiving the application fee? If they're appealing the decision.
Why? No.
I would just state your inclination. So the inclination is no?
Well, we've gone through the due process.
We have.
I even question the fact that we would have gone this far down with the case and give leave to withdraw, because now potentially the property could be sold, and then the next buyer is going to come before us and ask for the same request again, and we're going to go through the same exercise.
Okay. Thank you.
So I was asking for this for this woman, if she decides to come back to appeal my decision, not come for a new special permit, but if she's going to work off of the same form of intent to appeal my decision.
To the courts?
No, to
There would,
board.
so let me just clarify that there would need to be a new zoning, the zoning determination would have to be reissued, because you have 30 days from the letter to appeal, but usually the process is you just say, can you reissue the letter, and they reissue the letter with the same date. And then it's subject to an appeal, because you can have a zoning determination made over and over again until you get to the point of a repetitive determination. It's part of the law that exists. So,
Confused. So the applicant, this is giving the applicant the option to reapply for the same request.
the applicant has the option of reapplying because we granted leave to withdraw without prejudice. They could also file an appeal as long as they had a new determination letter issued, so that it would be within 30 days of the date of the letter. So I'm going to I'm not inclined, because I agree with Mr. McLaughlin that we've gone through a fair amount of process here. We're at the second hearing, and we did have to advertise, and we're going to have to advertise again. And the cost, unfortunately, of advertisement in the newspaper is extraordinarily high, and the city has to bear it that's pretty much where the application fee goes every time that we have a new application. But I thank the commissioner for asking and, for the compassion for the applicant that he has. So,
Thank you. And
all right. So matter is concluded. Council, thank you very much for your representation and time. We, again, always appreciate professionals at these meetings.
Thank you very much for your time. I know it's crazy late. And you can choose not to answer my question, but do any of the board members see this differently if we are not asking for a variance, but we are appealing the building commissioner's decision? And I ask that, and that the applicant is going to spend a considerable amount of time and effort and money going back through this process.
Mr. Byrne, do you want to give an indication?
No.
Okay. Any other board member want to give an indication?
Of
A response to the question on whether they would look at an appeal differently from the view on the variance?
You can't answer that, Mike.
Yeah. I don't think that it's really proper for any board member to answer that question.
Correct.
But I would refer you back to the comments that were made by the board members during the meeting for review, which again is available if anybody wants to listen to it again on fatv.org, which is a nice way to have an immediate review of exactly what happened during the meeting and all the comments. Council, I wish you good night. Board members, I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn, except before that, I would like a motion to congratulate Mr. Reynolds on the birth of his first grandchild.
So moved.
Okay. I think that is unanimously granted. And
Before I
then,
make a motion to adjourn, I'd like to say to everybody out there, happy, healthy, prosperous new year, especially my zonies.
okay. So,
Make a motion, we adjourn?
second.
all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
See you in February.